Nisemonogatari Part 1. Cast by Tale Studio. If you are interested in creating your own audio drama, please check out our website, arttale.ai. That's ARTTALE.ai. You can use promote code ARTTALE for free trial. Now enjoy the story. Karen Araragi and Tsukihei Araragi, my sisters. I doubt there are many in this world who would be interested in hearing their tale in the first place. And even, supposing there were a class of people so peculiarly predisposed, given the choice, for my own part I'm quite certain I would not be interested in telling their tale. If I were to explain why, I'm sure most anyone would understand, but by and large, few these days care to bear every last detail of their home lives, and I certainly have no interest in bucking that trend. But even putting such general objections aside, Karen and Tsukihei are an unusual case. If it weren't for the fact that they are my sisters, I'm sure I would have never had anything to do with them. And even supposing we did come in contact, they're the type of people I would have almost certainly ignored. Due to the odd experiences I've had these past few months, I've made more than my share of strange acquaintances. For instance, Hatagi Senjogahara, Mayoi Hachikuji, Suruga Kanbaro, and Nadeko Sengoku. But if there's something in me that has allowed me to go more or less tit for tat with them, the attribute can be traced back to having been raised under the same roof as my sisters. Of course, I suppose it wouldn't be fair if I wasn't upfront about the fact that feelings of inferiority and jealousy might be coloring my view. While I spent my high school life slacking off and wound up a loser, Karen and Tsukihei always had their act together. They're still in middle school though, and up through middle school I had it together too, so there's probably no need for me to be so hard on myself. But looking back from my current vantage point, I have to admit that they have promise. Whenever the relatives get together, almost like clockwork, one of them is sure to say to me, "Koyomi, you must be so proud of your sisters." Yes, they're those kind of sisters. By the way, I've never heard anyone tell my sisters, "You must be so proud of your brother." Then again, with a brother as shabby as me, I suppose that would be asking for too much. However, let me make one thing clear, loud and clear. My sisters may not be losers, but they're still problem children. They may be girls of character, but that character is bankrupt. As their brother, I have the habit of always speaking about them as if they were a set, but obviously they each have their own distinct personality and idiosyncrasies, so let me take a moment now to explain them individually, in turn. First, the older little sister, Karen Araragi. Currently in the third year of middle school, Karen turned 15 at the end of June, and back to being just 3 years younger than me. Ever since elementary school, she's generally kept her hair tied back in a ponytail. But apparently, once, around the time she entered middle school, she had actually dyed her hair a garish shocking pink too, like some character out of an anime. Or so I heard. I still don't know why she did it. But the predictable consequence was that our mother smacked her upside the face. For the sake of my mother's honor, let me just state that it was the first and last time the mild-mannered woman ever raised a hand against one of her daughters. And Karen re-dyed her hair black that same night. With calligraphy ink, of all things. Since Karen's hair was actually only shocking pink for a few hours, from when she dyed it in her own room to when our mother came home, and I was at school at the time. Still in my first year, I was teetering on the brink of loserdom but still scrambling to hold on. I unfortunately never got to witness that look. As much as I wish I had, if it had been me who discovered her hair, instead of our mother, honestly I might have been the one to smack Karen upside the face. So who's to say? In this remote country town, hardly anyone even lightens their hair, and just unbuttoning the top button on your school uniform is enough to brand you as a delinquent. So in light of the kind of off-the-wall middle school debut Karen was looking to make, there's probably no need to say any more about her personality. All things considered, the figure she cuts is, to be blunt, not cute. If anything, I'd say she's more handsome or cool. She's a bit taller than me, which might sound vague, but just how much qualifies as a bit, I will leave up to your imagination. I don't want to give away too much about my own height, which I'm using as a standard of measurement. Whereas I stopped growing in my second year of middle school, in her second year Karen shot up like a leaf. This has developed into an unfortunate complex for us both. Honestly, it's mortifying. I have to look up to my little sister. Can you imagine a bigger humiliation? To make matters worse, Karen does martial arts so her posture is magnificent, making her look about 2 inches taller than she really is. As a result, Karen refuses to wear skirts. She says they make her legs look too long. Instead, she always wears a baggy, loose-fitting sports jersey to school. The jersey actually suits her, boosting her tomboy image. By the way, the martial art Karen studies is karate. Ever since she was a kid, she's been the sporty type. But apparently the best outlet for her talent was violence. She took her black belt in no time. There's a picture of her hanging in our living room, dressed in her gi. The black belt is tied around her waist and she's making the V sign at the camera. Both the outfit and the pose suit her way too well. There isn't much femininity to Karen. I wouldn't go so far as to call her mannish, But there's definitely something boyish about her. Her hawkish, slanted eyes are probably a factor. If I were to compare her to anyone else I know, I'd probably say that Saruga Kambaro is the closest match. If you took away Kambaro's respect for me, maybe you'd be left with Karen, although the thought is kind of chilling. And then there's the younger little sister, Tsukihei Araragi. Currently in the second year of middle school, Tsukihei's birthday is in early April. In other words, she is currently 14, unlike her older sister. Tsukihei's hairstyle changes from mood to mood and season to season. Honestly, since she never seems to keep the same hairstyle for more than 3 months at a time, I'd be hard-pressed to tell you whether her hair is her thing or she actually just doesn't care. Not long ago she was keeping it long and straight, but at the moment she has it in a shaggy Dutch bob. I've never been interested enough to ask, but apparently she has a favorite salon she goes to. Maybe that sounds a little precocious for a middle school student, but then again, these days that might just be what kids do. Besides, in Tsukihei's case, it's not the exterior that's her problem so much as the interior. Karen's insides more or less match her outsides, but Tsukihei's outsides belie her insides. Her insides, however, do not belie her outsides, which is an important distinction. Tsukihei has gentle, downward tilted eyes, a contrast to her sister in a small frame, an even bigger contrast to her sister, as well as a slow, distinctive way of speaking that is nothing if not girlish. But deep down she's even more aggressive than Karen, with a temper to boot. When Karen gets into some fight, listening to the story afterward, more often than not it was Tsukihei who was behind it. She has a temper that borders on hysteria. The sharp contrast with her gentle appearance tends to leave people scratching their heads in bewilderment. Her one saving grace, I suppose, is that when she does get angry, it is only ever on someone else's behalf. For example, there was an episode that occurred when Tsukihei was in her second year of elementary school. During recess, a ball kicked by one of the older students landed in the sunflower bed tended by Tsukihei's class. When the older student came to get his ball, Tsukihei's classmate, who had been watering the flowers, tried reprimanding him, but the older student got nasty and made her cry. Not that unusual of an occurrence for an elementary school, but as soon as Tsukihei heard about it, she sprang into action, ascertaining which class the boy belonged to, and then launching a full-out attack on the classroom. Karen, by the way, went with her. By the time the commotion, which later came to be known as the Ikadaya incident, died down, the older student had been sent to the hospital, and nearly all of the fixtures in the classroom had been destroyed. And then in a finishing touch they sent a get-well bouquet to the hospital. Sunflowers. Any way you looked at it, they had gone overboard. Maybe the girl stopped crying, but she probably did so out of pure fear. The whole incident was atrocious. Tsukihei joined the tea ceremony club at her school, but only as an excuse to wear a kimono. She has such a thing for traditional Japanese clothing that she even wears a yukata to bed instead of pajamas. Supposedly they're teaching her about the peaceful spirit of tea, but sadly that doesn't seem to have translated to a change in her personality. Then again, any art form that was dominated by a difficult, short-tempered priest who'd go nuts just because someone sprinkled sugar on a watermelon probably just fans her hysteria instead. Either sister, as you can see, would be a handful on her own, but matters are complicated by the fact that there are two. Forget about just handfuls. It takes feet and shoulders to juggle them both. As their extraordinarily bland older brother, I'm constantly at a loss over how to respond in the wake of each new scandal they cause. The real problem may be how well each sister complements the other. The older sister, always ready for a fight. The younger sister, always ready to find a reason to start a fight. It's why they are known as the Fire Sisters of Tuganoki Second Middle School. According to Sengoku, my sisters are quite the famous duo among other junior high kids in the area. Tuganoki Second Middle School is private, while Sengoku attends a public school, my own alma mater, a little further away by bus. If the rumors had circulated that far, it was certainly no laughing matter. I never heard this story from Karen herself, so I can't speak to its veracity. But apparently on her first day of school she earned a name for herself among junior high kids by challenging and defeating, in a one-on-one throwdown, the juvie boss leader who'd lorded over the middle schools in our area. No, there's no way that could be true. I mean, just look at how many weird phrases there are in those 3 little lines. Those kind of words don't belong in the 21st century. Someone had to have made that up. Still, I suppose the fact that a rumor like that could float around unchallenged is proof enough of Karen and Tsukihei's fame. The Fire Sisters of Tuganoki Second Middle School, Karen Araragi the enforcer and Tsukihei Araragi the strategist. As a pair, they spent their days, I don't know, running around rescuing those in need, righting wrongs and making the world a better place, in any case, playing at being make-believe defenders of justice. Of course, if I said that to the girls, I know how they'd reply. Karen, it's not make-believe, Koyomi. And Tsukihei would almost certainly add, we aren't defenders of justice, we are justice itself. But as their flesh and blood, I can confirm that their activities are not nearly so lofty, It's just an outlet for their excess energy. And if they keep it up, they're going to get themselves into trouble someday. At least that's what I kept telling him. But the one who keeps getting into trouble these last few months has actually been me. And since I haven't been able to get my own act together, I guess nothing I say sounds very persuasive. Then again, knowing it all probably goes in one ear and out the other, I can say it loudly and repeatedly. Karen and Tsukihi Araragi. In the end, the Fire Sisters are nothing more than make-believe defenders of justice. My sisters, whom I must be proud of. The truth is, they're just hopelessly fake. The development seems so entirely out of context that I can only apologize, but apparently I was kidnapped. The date was July 29th, approximately 10 days after the start of summer vacation. Well, I had a feeling that I'd been unconscious for some time, so I suppose it was possible that it was already the 30th. In fact, for all I knew, the 31st had come and gone and it was August. If I could see the watch strapped to my right wrist, I'd be able to ascertain the date and hour, but with my hands bound together behind a steel beam, that was easier said than done. Nor could I extract the cell phone sitting in my pocket. Which is not to say that I had no estimate of the time. It was pitch black outside the window, allowing me to surmise at least that it must be night. I say window, but in reality the glass was missing, and the wind blustered into the room. Midsummer or not, the location was far too exposed. I could probably manage to stand up if I tried since my feet weren't bound, but there didn't seem to be much point in doing so. I kept my butt planted on the floor and stretched my legs out instead. I can't believe Ashino and Shinobu live like this, I thought absently to myself. That's right, I was being held captive in a location I knew all too well. The ruins of the former cram school. It was a 4-story affair strewn with garbage and rubble, and on the verge of collapse. To someone unfamiliar with the building, every floor and classroom probably looked the same. But if you knew the place as well as I did, small differences were apparent. I could tell that the classroom where I was being held was one of 3 on the 4th floor, the one farthest on the left viewed from the stairwell. A fat lot of good it did me though. Ashino, of course, was no longer in town, let alone in these ruins, and Shinobu had left them to take up residence in my shadow. Perhaps at this very moment she was feeling nostalgic. Or perhaps she wasn't feeling anything at all. How was I to know what a 500-year-old vampire might be thinking? So, what to do? Despite a throbbing pain in the back of my head, I must have been struck there when I was abducted, I went over the situation with a calmness that seemed at odds with my predicament. People can be surprisingly level-headed at such moments. After all, it's not like losing your head got you anywhere. The most urgent task really was to take stock of the status quo. I had assumed my hands were tied behind my back with a length of rope or something, but it seemed it was actually a pair of metal handcuffs keeping them in place. If they'd been the toy variety, I probably could have resorted to brute strength to rip them apart. But I tried, and they didn't budge. I'd end up ripping my own wrists to shreds before I even put a dent in the cuffs. If there's any distinction between real and fake in the handcuff world, these were clearly the real deal. Still, vampiric strength would have let me escape without even breaking a sweat. Forget about the cuffs, I'd demolish the steel beam too. Hell, even if I mangled my wrists, the trademark healing skill would restore them soon enough. 6 of one or half a dozen of another. Vampire, I muttered, sweeping my gaze over the ruined classroom once more. Even if I couldn't use my hands, there might be something I could reach with my feet. My eyes fell on my own shadow. However dark the darkness, it always appeared a shade darker in relief. Over spring break, I was attacked by a vampire. A beautiful vampire with blonde hair who drained my blood. All of it. Every last drop, and as if that weren't enough, drained of blood, I became a vampire. Over that spring break I'd spent not as a human being but as a vampire, these cram school ruins had served as my lair where I hid from prying eyes. Usually people who've turned into vampires are saved by vampire hunters, or Christian special ops, or even kinslayer vampires who hunt other vampires. But in my case, it was some older dude who was just passing by Mimoshino. Saved by another. Ashino never stopped disliking that presumptuous way of putting it. But that was how I became human again. While the beautiful blonde vampire was reduced to a pale memory of her former self, robbed of her strength, and even of her name, Shinobu Oshino was the one she received in exchange, to be sealed inside my shadow in the end. I suppose you could say we had it coming. Both Shinobu and me. That was all there was to it. Only, I couldn't leave it at that, and so she and I existed as we did. There was no way for me to know how Shinobu felt about it all, but even if it had been a mistake, I don't see what other choice we had. Anyway, the ruins were all full of memories for me. Maybe I should say awful memories, but that's beside the point. The issue at the moment was that, while I once possessed the strength of a vampire, it was a long time ago, and only a faint vestige of that attribute now remained. Tearing through a set of metal handcuffs was only wishful thinking. If I were Lupin III, I'd dislocate the bones in my wrist and slip out of the cuffs as if they were a pair of gloves. But since I was just a high school third year and not, in fact, Lupin III, such sleights of hand were beyond me. Come to think of it, Tsukihi had also been kidnapped, recently. Well, maybe kidnapped is overstating it, but it was still no laughing matter. Some enemy organization, by doting it was a match for Karen in combat prowess, instead hatched a plan to take Tsukihi hostage. Before I could even worry, I had to shake my head at all of them for staging in real-life hijinks worthy of a weekly boys' comics magazine. But fortunately, when push comes to shove, Tsukihi can shove back. Getting herself kidnapped had been a ruse, and she ingratiated herself into the enemy organization, and managed to bring it down from the inside. The formidable Fire Sisters. Incidentally, both girls kneeled before me afterwards and begged, "Please, don't tell Mom and Dad. They shouldn't have bothered. I wasn't about to bring something crazy like that to our parents' attention." Kneeling down along with her sister spoke well of Karen, but maybe also poorly. I mean, girls of their age shouldn't fall on their knees to apologize about nothing. It's just immature, okay? As for me, I bet falling on my knees wouldn't even cut it. Those two are quick with the waterworks despite their own antics. So, what to do? Honestly, though, I already had a pretty good guess as to how I wound up in this situation. A pretty clear picture, you might say. The truth was staring me in the face. Yes, indeed. Whether I wanted to admit it or not, the writing, as they say, was on the wall. Just then, light seeped into the classroom from beyond the door. All of the electricity in the building was dead, so the source was probably a flashlight. It was moving in a beeline straight for the classroom where I was being held. The door opened, the light was intense, momentarily blinding me, but my eyes soon adjusted. Standing in the doorway was a woman whose face I knew well.
Araragi, you're awake.
Hitagi Senjobihara. Her tone of voice was aloof, as always, as she pointed the flashlight in my direction.
Whew. I was worried you might die without ever waking up,
she added. I was at a loss for words. There were plenty of things I wanted to say, but not a single one coalesced into words. Senjobihara closed the door and strutted in my direction, barely acknowledging the approximation of a grimace that crossed my face. There wasn't a hint of hesitation to her stride. It was the attitude of a person who harbored no doubts over what she was doing.
Are you okay? Does the back of your head hurt?
She asked, setting the flashlight to the side. Her concern was very touching, in and of itself. Yet, Senjogahara, take off these handcuffs.
I will not,
she replied. She had given it exactly 0 seconds of consideration. Man, I took a deep breath, wanting to make sure I had plenty of air in my lungs before shouting. And then, shout I did. So, you're the culprit after all.
You make a compelling case, but you'll never prove it was me.
Senjogahara uttered a line that sounded like something out of the last chapter of a mystery novel. The speaker was always the culprit. The moment I saw I was being held in these ruins, I had a feeling it was you. Besides, no one else I know would have such heavy-duty handcuffs.
You have quite the imagination, Mr. Araragi. You don't mind if I take notes, do you? I could probably use them when I write my next book.
In this case, I don't give a damn about twists where the culprit is a mystery novelist. Just take these handcuffs off already.
I will not,
Senjobihara repeated. Lit from below by the flashlight, her stony expression was even more intimidating than usual. Talk about scary.
I will not. Also, I cannot. I already threw away the key.
You what?
Also, I filled the keyhole with putty to make sure it can't be picked.
Why would you?
I also threw away the antidote.
I've been poisoned on top of it? Senjobihara's face finally cracked into a smirk.
I lied about the antidote,
she said. As relieved as I was to hear that, apparently that meant she was telling the truth about throwing away the key and filling the keyhole with putty. I slumped my shoulders in defeat. How was I going to get out of these cuffs now? Oh well, I should be glad that the part about the antidote was a lie.
Right. Don't worry. The antidote is safe and sound.
So you did poison me? I tried to thrust myself forward as I quipped, but the handcuffs caught on the steel beam and I didn't make it very far. Maybe it wasn't a big deal, but for someone like me, that's extremely stressful.
I lied about the poison too. But if you won't be a good boy, who knows?
Scary? So scary.
I float like a butterfly, sting like a butterfly.
Butterflies don't sting.
My mistake. You must be so proud of yourself, pointing it out. Are you going to brag about this for the rest of your life?
What a novel way of admitting your mistake.
Correctly, it's bee.
Bee poison is potent. I gulped hard, taking another look at the woman standing in front of me, at Hitadi Senjogahara, one of my classmates. She had a pretty face and looked smart, which in fact she was. With grades regularly in the top 10 of our year, she had a reputation for being a cool beauty. What was known to only a select few, however, was that those who got too close to her were guaranteed, without exception, to pay the price. The beautiful rose has its thorn. But in Senjogahara's case it was nothing so poetic. Senjogahara, one of my classmates Sokan-pod, and Senchul B. Rai. In terms of a disconnect between interior and exterior, my sister Tsukihi rivaled her, but in Senjogahara's case there was no question of hysteria, just composed antagonism. Tsukihi was touchy, while Senjogahara was always on a combat footing at her normal temperature. She was like a security device programmed to lavish indiscriminate attacks on anyone who approached within a certain perimeter. For instance, in my case, I got a staple punched into the inside of my mouth. One wrong step could have spelled disaster, and step I did, so it's a wonder everything worked out in the end. Well, Senjogahara did have good cause for acting the way she did. Back in May we managed to resolve that issue even if it was a compromise of sorts, but unfortunately that programming was a part of her, and disabling it was proving to be quite a challenge. Which brings us to today. Still, you've actually been pretty quiet lately. Why up and kidnap your boyfriend out of the blue? Is this some new trend in domestic violence I haven't heard of? By the way, Senjogahara and I were going out, we were boyfriend and girlfriend. Sweethearts. Not to be hokey, but you might say she stapled together our hearts, aka, I suppose that's a little hokey. Besides, you don't staple ties, you weave them.
Relax. Relax, Araragi. I'm going to protect you.
So scary. The horror.
You won't die, because I'm going to protect you.
As much as I appreciate the random Evangeline illusion, Miss Gahara, I'd come up with the nickname recently. It wasn't catching on very well. Sometimes it seemed like I was the only one trying to make Miss Gahara happen. I'm starting to get hungry, and maybe a little thirsty too. Do you think we could get something to eat around here? I didn't have much choice but to ask nicely for the moment. My life was in Senjogahara's unrelenting hands. If I didn't tread lightly, I might get stung for real. No joke about it. Regardless of how she was these days, Senjogahara would never come into a situation like this unarmed, though I had no idea what kind of stationery it might be.
Hungry. Thirsty. You're like an animal. All you do is eat and sleep. It's disgusting. Why don't you try living in a productive manner for a change? Oh, I'm sorry. I guess living is too lofty a demand for Koyomi Araragi.
What did I said to deserve that? Nothing, right?
But when it comes to dying in a productive manner, I'm sure you're second to none. A tiger leaves behind its fur upon dying, or so the proverb goes, and in that sense I suppose you're a tiger.
That doesn't sound like a compliment either. After all, she was still calling me an animal. Did she think I wouldn't notice? At any rate, judging from the level of venom, Senjogahara wasn't actually angry or in a bad mood. She had an acid tongue and was always lashing out, so there were only a few people in the world capable of gauging her mood. Myself and I guess Kanbaru and Senjogahara's father, and that was it. Normally you'd take her to be someone who was irritated all the time.
Fine, Araragi. I'll be kind this once and show you mercy. I knew a pathetic bug like you would ask for food, so I bought all sorts in advance.
Senjogahara proudly thrust out her other arm, the one not holding the flashlight, a pathetic bug like me, to present what appeared to be a plastic convenience store bag. It was semi-transparent so I could make out its contents. Beverage bottles, rice balls, and such. Rations for my confinement. How unexpectedly considerate of her. How unpleasantly considerate. Ah, I see then. Water. First, I need water. Originally I had asked to eat hoping she would untie me, but it was true that I was feeling hungry and thirsty. Thanks to the after effects of my past vampirism, I could hold off on eating, but even I had my limits. Who knows how long I was unconscious for, and in particular, water was a necessity for humans. Senjogahara reached into the bag and pulled out a plastic bottle mineral water and unscrewed the cap. Since I was tied up, I expected her to help me drink, but she held the mouth of the bottle just a hair's breadth from my lips before yanking it back. I should have known. Senjogahara had a mean streak that went deeper than words.
Oh, you want some Wawa?
Well, yes.
Huh. But I'd rather drink it myself.
Senjogahara began gulping it down. Some people just have a way of doing things, I guess. Drinking straight from the bottle didn't make her seem crude. In fact, she looked downright classy.
Ah, that hit the spot. My, such a greedy expression. Who said I was going to let you have any?
Was she sure about that? That almost made it sound like she'd gone out of her way to buy water just to make me watch her drink some once I got thirsty. Not that she would never do such a thing.
Araragi, did you think I'd pass it to you mouth to mouth? You nasty boy. You little perv.
Only Kanbaru would expect that in this situation.
Is that so? What about the other day when we traded a big sloppy kiss?
Don't be talking about that now, I'd yelled. Not that there was anyone else to overhear, but I didn't like her talking about that stuff so openly. We boys are delicate that way.
Fine. If you want a drink of water that bad, I could let you have some.
I want a drink of water that bad.
Ha! Does this man have no pride? Bleating a shameless line for a mere sip of water. How about just dying, at this point? If I were you, I'd bite off my tongue instead.
Senjogahara seemed to be enjoying herself. I hadn't seen her so animated in a while. She must have really been bottling it up lately.
Fine. I can hardly turn a blind eye to such deplorable begging. I'll show sympathy and allow you to quench your thirst. I hope you're grateful, you dippy bird.
Dippy bird isn't exactly an insult.
He.
With a more sinister laugh than ever, Senjogahara tipped the plastic bottle over and began dripping water onto her other hand. What in the world was she up to? Actually, considering how spiteful she could be, I already had a perfectly clear picture. She held out her fingers, wet with mineral water, toward my lips.
Lick it. You said you were thirsty, didn't you? Then stretch out your filthy tongue and slurp like a giraffe.
That wasn't exactly an insult either. But with Senjogahara, somehow nearly anything could come out sounding venomous. Senjogahara.
What? I thought you were thirsty. Or were you lying? Liars need to be punished.
I'll lick it. Please let me lick it. I was already in a horrible fix without extra punishment. I did as she said. I stretched my neck out towards Senjogahara's fingers like a giraffe, whatever that meant, and extended my tongue.
Absolutely disgraceful. I've never seen anything so pathetic. Who'd go so far for just a sip of water? I bet this is what you wanted all along, isn't it? You're probably just a pervert who likes to suck on girls' fingers.
Miss Senjogahara was definitely getting into this. Regardless, licking her fingers helped quench my thirst some. Now then.
Araragi, that was an excellent image. I almost want to use it as the waiting screen on my cell phone.
Oh yeah? How top of the line. Maybe we could move on to those rice balls.
Why not? I'm feeling unusually generous today.
No wonder after all she'd done, you'd feel at least a little magnanimous.
What filling would you like?
Any.
You don't seem very excited. Did you prefer bread by any chance?
Not really. Besides, as far as I can tell, you didn't buy bread.
Nope. All I have are rice balls.
There's no point in asking for what I can't have.
If they don't have bread, why don't they serve us cake instead?
What an oppressive regime. There'd be a revolution in an instant. It took the tart.
I had a sheltered upbringing. I don't know the ways of the world.
I think it's your own ways that are the issue here.
I can't help it. I was spoiled. I was the Applebee of my father's eye.
Apple. Just apple sounds plenty painful coming from you. As we continued to banter, Senjogahara took out one of the rice balls, carefully removed the plastic wrapper, and suddenly shoved the whole thing into my mouth. What the heck?
Well, asking you to open your mouth and say, "Ah," was kind of embarrassing.
So you just shove it in my mouth? Cack! There's rice stuck in my throat. Water! Water! Quick, the whole bottle!
Well, now. It'd be like we were kissing indirectly.
You're feeling shy about that after making me slobber all over your fingers? Senjogahara did supply me with water, but it was by cramming the bottle into my mouth. While the grains of rice stuck in my throat got washed down, it also felt like I was about to drown, a unique experience on dry land.
Uh-oh. Look at the mess you made. You're a bad little boy.
I didn't know if acid tongue was the right term anymore. If Japan ever lost its freedom of speech, the first one to be locked up would almost certainly be her.
If you don't mind, I'm going to take my meal too. Today I only had the time to bring convenience store fare, but don't worry. Tomorrow it'll be a proper, homemade lunch.
What? You have a problem with my cooking? I've been getting pretty good lately, if I do say so myself. No, my problem was with the fact that my confinement seemed to involve long-term planning. I'd been playing along so far figuring it was some sort of game, but I had no idea what her goal was. Of course, she told me, hadn't she? Dash, relax, dash. I'm going to protect you. To protect me. I had a feeling she was being serious. If she was really trying to protect me, I shouldn't be dismissive. Though maybe that was less kind than spoiling. Probably because I'd been struck on the back of my head, my memory was fuzzy, but it was all starting to come back. Protect, what she meant by the word. How this situation had come to pass. I have to say, Senjogahara, you've got some skills up your sleeve, knocking me out with a single blow to the back of the head. According to my sister, it's a lot harder to knock someone out than you'd think.
What single blow?
Oh?
You refused to pass out. It took me 20 tries.
You could have killed me. Unbelievable. Well, speaking of unbelievable, there was something else I had to ask her. Honestly, I'm not sure I wanted to know. But I didn't have much of a choice. Senjogahara, you said you'd make lunch next time, and I'm grateful, I really am. But while I'm here, how am I supposed to, do my business? I lobbed the mortifying question, but as cool as a cucumber, without so much as raising an eyebrow, as if she had thought of everything. Senjogahara reached into the plastic bag and pulled out an adult diaper. Miss Gahara? You're kidding, right? Is that like a joke item? As always, what an edgy sense of humor.
Relax. I'm prepared to do anything for your sake, even change diapers. Don't you know? I love you, Araragi. So much that even if you were covered in filth from head to toe, I'd embrace you without a moment's hesitation. Starting with respiration and ending with excretion, I'll control every nook and cranny of your body, including your brain.
Oh, the weight of love. Let me try to piece together the course of events leading up to this lamentable imprisonment. Indeed, to get it all straight, I should probably start from around the morning of July 29th. Although it was summer vacation, I was determined to shrug off the mantle of loser and take college entrance exams, so there was no time to dally. Senjogahara, who had some of the best grades in our year, and Hanekawa, who had the very best, switched off each day to tutor me. It was hard work for me, studying every day, but if I stopped to think about it, I couldn't have asked for a better arrangement. With those two as your tutors, anyone would improve. They turned out to be a choice combo of carrot and stick, or should I say honey and whip. On even days I was taught by Senjogahara, and on odd days by Hanekawa, with Sundays unconditionally off. But of course they also had their own plans, in which case those took precedence. That included July 29th, one of Hanekawa's days, when she told me, Araragi, I'm so sorry, there's something I can't get out of. I promise we'll make up next time. The day after tomorrow, to be precise. And so I wound up free. Since I was the one asking for private tutoring, there was no reason for her to be so apologetic. As usual, Hanekawa was just too nice for her own good. I assumed the things she couldn't get out of had something to do once again with her parents. It wasn't my place to stick my nose in, so I didn't ask too many questions. I'd do anything for Hanekawa's sake, but anything sometimes had to mean nothing at all, depending on the situation. In short, I had nothing to do that day. Obviously, I could have studied on my own, but according to Hanekawa, it was important to take time off now and then. Senjogahara never dispensed remotely similar advice. But on these matters, I tended to heed Hanekawa's. And who could blame me? 2 days off in a row. I say that, but I already had something planned for Sunday. Thinking I might take a long overdue trip to the bookstore, I reviewed some stuff anyway before heading down to the living room. My parents had already left, they both work, even on Saturdays, and Tsukihi, dressed in a yukata, was sprawled out on her back on the couch and watching TV with her head upside down. Given her attire and posture, she might as well have been naked, her chest a disaster area. But she didn't seem to care, not that I was one to talk about appearances, and as long as she dressed properly outside, it was no big deal.
You done studying?
Tsukihi switched off the TV, she seemed not to have been watching out of any interest, and turned toward me. The drooping curve of her eyes made her look drowsy, but considering the hour, that seemed unlikely.
Your home tutor took today off, huh?
Yup, Actually, on Senjugahara's days, I went to her house, and on Hanakawa's days, we went to the library. So, home tutor wasn't accurate. Going to a cram school or taking exam prep courses had been an option. But sadly, my parents weren't persuaded. Let's just say that my behavior until then had taken its toll. I had a lot of catching up to do.
Am I going to have to study for college entrance exams too? Ugh.
Right, you guys don't have to take any for high school. The blessings of an integrated secondary school, both of my sisters had passed their junior high entrance exams without even studying. How so clever of them. It won't be for a while yet, even if you decide to. Isn't it a little early for you to be thinking about that?
Yeah, I suppose. But seeing you get so serious all of a sudden has me worried.
My sincere apologies. Hey, where's what's-her-face?
What's her face?
The bigger sister.
Karen's out.
That's weird. What was weird wasn't that Karen was out, but rather Tsukihige lying around on the couch at home when Karen had left. The Fire Sisters usually operated as a team. And anytime they worked separately, chances were it was because they were up to no good. You two better not be stirring up trouble.
We're not stirring up anything. Thank you very much. You're always like that, treating me and Karen like we're kids. You worry too much.
I'm not worried. I just don't trust you, that's all.
Isn't that the same thing?
No, one's worry and one's trust. There's a pretty clear difference between the two.
That's just mincing worth you.
At least finish your sentence. What a stupid exchange. Then again, if it was so stupid, why bother finishing a sentence? Back to the topic at hand. So, where did the bigger sister go?
Like I told you, she's not getting up to trouble. In fact, she's clearing up some trouble.
That's what I mean by trouble.
Really?
Just tell me what happened, before the trouble turns into trauma. Confess and wear the badge of traitor with honor. Whatever's happened, it may still be early enough to do something about it.
Gross. Don't go around sticking your nose into middle school fights. It's lame. Fighting, I'll have you know, is a very important form of communication. There are far too many people who don't know how to fight constructively these days. Don't you think?
Well, when you put it that way, it almost sounds right on our and sounds right.
The problem isn't in fighting. It's in not knowing the right way to fight.
Tsukihige got carried away and started to sound full of herself. She looked smug. You say that, but when you two get in a fight, it's nearly always accompanied by violence. I don't see how you can call that the right way.
An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
That's BC thinking. You know it's the 20th century? Okay, the 21st, actually.
In that case, how about a tooth for an eye and blunt force trauma for a tooth?
You triple it?
Oh, shut up!
She exploded in a sudden fit of temper. The smug look from just moments before was nowhere to be seen.
Just leave me alone! I don't know anything, whether it's big or a little or middle.
Since when are there three of you? Tisk, this is what I meant when I said they weren't worth worrying about. At any rate, motivated by other people's troubles and concerns as the Fire Sisters were, they weren't keen to spill the details of whatever they had on their plate at the moment, and I wasn't about to wade into some complete stranger's privacy. I guess it didn't really matter. They'd probably come talk to me when things got to be too much for them to handle, just so long as it didn't involve another kidnapping rigmarole. Seriously though, I'm not going to tell you to grow up, but maybe grow a little quieter?
You're one to talk!
Tsukihige grabbed the remote control by her side and threw it at me. Cripes, was she crazy? I couldn't just dodge it, so I caught it somehow and set it back down on the table. All things considered, I suppose growing quieter was the taller order. Growing up is just part of getting older. Being as quiet as, say, Sengoku is a problem in its own right. If Karen and Tsukihige could be about a tenth as quiet as Sengoku, and Sengoku could be about a tenth as active as Karen and Tsukihige, then everything would be just right. Unfortunately, life isn't that easy. You can't just divide and multiply people that way. Right? Sengoku? I came up with what I should do today. Or rather, remembered. Come to think of it, I'd been putting off a promise to go hang out with her. The bookstore could wait, Nadeko Sengoku. She was actually one of Tsukihige's classmates from back in elementary school. One of the friends my sister invited over to our house to play at the time I shared a room with Tsukihige and Karen. So Sengoku became an acquaintance of mine as well, even though we were in different grades. I stopped seeing her after Tsukihee entered a private middle school, but the other day I ran into Sengoku again under unexpected circumstances. Very unexpected. Namely, aberration-related. Anyways, after we cleared up her problem, Sengoku came over one day to hang out. That was thanks to my good offices. I figured bringing her and Tsukihee together again would be cool. As Karen and Tsukihee's brother, I find their characters highly dubious, but kids their own age seem to dig the same traits and flock to them. Of all things, I don't know if personable is the word I want, but they possess some mystery charisma skill that I'm failing to appreciate. In any case, it did the trick with an old elementary school friend whom Tsukihee hadn't seen in a long time, and she and Sengoku were soon playing together like they used to. On her way out, our guest had said, "Come over to Nadeko's place next time to hang out," and I'd nodded yes. That was a good while ago, in fact. Not that I'd forgotten, but a lot happened in the meantime, and I also started getting serious about studying for my entrance exams. Maybe it was cold of me, now seemed like as good a time as any though. I decided to give Sengoku a call. Like most junior high schoolers out in the country, she didn't own a cell phone, so I had to ring her at home. I pulled my device, which had the number saved, from my pocket. I'd received but not made a call to her in some time. It was still before noon, but since this was Sengoku, she'd already be up.
Woo! Sengoku Red Soul. Shh!
I'd expected her parents to come to their home phone, but it was Sengoku who picked up. Except she was lisping like she was Hachikuji. Had I woken her up? I hadn't seen that coming. Sengoku didn't seem like the type to sleep in all morning just because it was summer vacation.
Big brother Koyomi, long time no hear. What's wrong?
She spoke clearly this time. But I hadn't said anything yet. How did she? Of course you didn't need a cell phone to have caller ID these days. Sorry to bother you out of the blue like this, but remember when we talked about hanging out at your place? I was thinking, what about today?
What?
She sounded surprised. Way too surprised. Odd, I could have sworn we had a promise. Maybe she'd forgotten. Is this too sudden? If today's no good?
Yes! Today! I'm busy almost every day, but today!
I couldn't remember Sengoku ever being so adamant. I didn't know she could holler like that either. I see. If you're that busy, then I guess it's gotta be today. Can I head over right now?
Yes! Almost any time other than right now is no good.
Geez, talk about a murderous schedule. Middle schoolers these days had it tough. I wish my sisters would take a hint instead of squandering their precious youth running around, playing defenders of justice. More than just a 10th, too. I'll be there soon, I said, hanging up. Then I looked over at Tsukihee. She'd switched the TV back on and tuned in to a morning talk show, Saturday edition, to catch the latest celebrity gossip, this time with seeming interest. She liked to pretend she was above that stuff, but she was basically a fangirl. I wish she'd use her charisma skill on me too. All right, you heard me.
Huh? Come again?
Weren't you listening?
Am I being scolded for not eavesdropping on people's calls?
She had a point. I was just on the phone with Sengoku.
And you're heading over to Sen's, yeah?
So, you were listening.
Have fun, I'll mind the fort.
Not so fast. You're coming along.
Excuse me?
Tsukihee turned around like she was surprised. If I'm going to Sengoku's house, obviously you're coming with me.
From what I did hear, I figured you'd be going by yourself. Besides, I'm pretty sure that's what Sen is expecting.
Really? I doubt it. On the phone, I'd assumed Tsukihee would be coming with me. Did I forget to mention that?
Whatever, I don't care. But I'm pretty sure I'd just be in the way, so why don't you go alone? That's probably what Sen would prefer.
What the heck? Why would you be in the way if we went to see Sengoku? Besides, how busy could you be?
How busy could you be?
That doesn't even make sense unless it's written down.
I almost forgot. I have
I seem to recall your tea ceremony club getting suspended for the whole summer. That was thanks to a Japanese clothing fashion show they'd put on for their culture festival. The originator of the cute plan was a certain junior high girl who happened to be right in front of me. True, the brunt of the blame belonged on her shoulders, but personally, I thought the club members and advisor, who let themselves be talked into it, needed to have their heads examined as well.
It's independent study. Independent study.
Hush up, you, kimono, cosplay, maniac. There's more to fashion than looking good in something.
I don't need lessons from someone whose idea of fashion is jeans and a hoodie.
You've got a point there. I still don't get it though. Why are you being so weird about coming with me?
ANYWAYS. I'm not such a jerk that I'd get in the way of a friend's crush. Even if it's not meant to be.
Crush? Like cans. I don't think we'll be doing anything like that. Sengoku is a prime girl, you know? Unlike my sisters.
I actually noticed it back in elementary school, but I mean you only met a handful of times. So talk about devoted. How many years has it been anyway? I could never pull it off myself. Not that I'd want to.
Huh?
Let me ask you something. Do you believe that boys and girls can be just friends?
Of course I do. Look at me and Sengoku. We're good friends.
I see. Fine then. Okay, have fun.
She wasn't budging. There didn't seem to be any point in arguing further. Sure, I guess I'll go on my own. Take care of things here. And when the bigger one comes home, tell her I need to talk to her. It was probably futile, but I'd try my luck with Karen too. All right, see ya. Huh?
Lately, you don't get into serious scuffles with Karen. Why is that?
That? I hadn't anticipated being prodded from that angle. Had it been on Tsukihi's mind? I was bewildered that she'd bring it up just then, but maybe she'd been wanting to ask for some time now. No reason, it's just that Karen is getting so strong these days, I almost expect to hear a level-up sound effect. If I fought her for real, I'd lose. Even though she surpassed me in height, you'd think I'd be stronger, but I guess I'm no match for a real martial artist.
Maybe that's true for Karen, but when I started to get hysteric just now, you backed down right away. It's like you're being mature or something.
Maybe...
Before you'd have wrung my neck for sure.
I never went that far. Actually, I'd be lying if I said never. Once or twice, or maybe 3 or 4 times.
It makes getting out way easier, so that works out for us. But I don't know. I mean, could you please not grow up all alone? It's boring.
Growing up was just part of getting older. It didn't seem like the right time to say so. It's not like I could tell Tsukihihi the real reason, though. The truth is, while you guys weren't looking, I went and got turned into a vampire. Luckily, I was able to become human again, but the after effects haven't gone away, so I have to be careful not to get into fights with you two, just in case I slip up and accidentally kill you. How was I supposed to say something like that with a straight face? But I was probably worrying about nothing. My current relationship with Shinobu Ashino the vampire who lurked in my shadow was deceptively simple. Confusing in its straightforwardness, I was still Shinobu's thrall and servant, but she existed in a reduced state as a vampire and as an aberration, neither able to live nor die without me. To clarify, I could still become part vampire by providing blood to Shinobu, and she, by drawing blood from me, could regain a modest amount of her vampiric strength. Put another way, unless it was immediately after giving blood to Shinobu, the after effects consisted of just accelerated healing, so I probably didn't need to worry about getting into a fight with Karen. Or rather, I might lose against such a martial arts adept, as I told Tsukihi. Still, I knew now what fighting, battling, meant. Not just sparring, but warring. Not just punching each other, but killing each other. What warring and killing each other meant. As a result, I just couldn't get into fights with my sisters like before. Until Tsukihi brought it up today, I was doing my best not to think about it, but deep down I had. Dash. Could you please not grow up all alone? Dash. It's boring. Karen had said the exact opposite to me. You know, Koyomi, that's why you never grow up. In the end, Karen probably had it right. It's not that I'd changed on the inside. Only I knew now. Of course, I doubt Tsukihi wanted me to wring her neck, but to borrow her phrase, there definitely was a right and a wrong way to fight. Thinking such thoughts, I got dressed appropriately to visit someone's house, though as Tsukihi nailed it, my fashion sense begins and ends with jeans and a hoodie, and left the house. Sengoku actually lived fairly close. The first time I walked her home, I was surprised at just how close. Since we'd attended the same public elementary school, that made perfect sense when I thought about it. You didn't even need a bike and could walk there in 10 minutes. Just because it was close, though, didn't mean I couldn't take my bike. But Sengoku might want some time to get ready. So I decided to stroll over there on foot. Along the way, however, I spotted someone from behind that I recognized. It wasn't her back so much as her backpack. Huh, it's Hachikuji. A giant backpack strapped to a tiny frame, pigtails, and a visibly cheeky profile. It had to be Mayoi Hachikuji, a 5th grade girl. We first met when I called out to her as she was wandering around lost. She seemed to live in a different town now but still liked to haunt ours. Even so, since she was just a grade schooler, I didn't have any way to contact her, and the best I could hope for was to run into her by accident like this. Hanakawa and I saw Hachikuji as a lucky item that brought you good fortune if you encountered her on a given day. This was my first time since summer vacation began. In fact, hadn't it been even longer than that? Sengoku was waiting for me after all. To begin with, I didn't even like Mayoi, the little brat actually. I downright hated her, okay? We weren't buddies, so why say hi just because she happened to be passing by? We could be standing face to face, and I might still ignore her. But hey, as a high schooler and her elder, taking such an attitude would be rather small of me. A grown man knows how to interact with people he doesn't like. Why not give a little kid the time of day? It's only proper, eh? Seriously, it wasn't like I was happy to see her or anything, but wasn't pretending that I was just common courtesy. Ha, I'm too nice. I dropped into a cold sprint, dashed toward her at record speed, and hugged her as tight as I could. Ha! Shikui! I missed you, kid, screamed Lil. Miss Hachikuji grabbed suddenly from behind. Ignoring it, I rained kisses down onto her soft cheeks. Ah! I haven't seen you in so long, I thought you were gone. I was so worried. Aha! Let me feel you more and hug you more and lick you all over. Tut! Stop squirming so much. I can't get off your panties.
Does that upset you, silly?
She kept screaming at the top of her lungs, and then
Growl.
she bit me.
Growl.
That hurt. What the hell? Once again, both halves of it should have been directed at myself. Anyway, you got me. The truth is, I'm crazy about Hachikuji. Leaving a bite mark on my arm that I thought might never disappear, she slipped free of my demonic grasp, my _marketing, and leapt back. Feral mode. W8. Hachikuji, look, it's me. Given my behavior, seeing it was me meant next to nothing. But I was glad I gave it a shot, because her eyes, which had turned feral, alert, and red, so inhuman, slowly returned to their normal color. Not green. Let me note just in case.
Who is it but Mr. Araragi? Araragi!
That's so close. But would you mind not confusing me with a paper master attached to the British Library Special Operations Division? My name is Koyomi Araragi. I was pretty sure that having pronounced my last name correctly, she'd gone out of her way to mess up my first. That was me and Hachikuji's thing. I sexually harassed her whenever and however I liked, and in return she mangled my name whenever and however she liked. It was a gentleman's pact.
Hold on just a minute, Mr. Araragi. Hold on just a minute, Mr. Araragi. I haven't heard of a treaty that one-sided since the Kanagawa Convention.
Really? Seems pretty fair to me.
Besides, your idea of sexual harassment is starting to border on the criminal. I'm starting to fear for my feminine virtue.
Hachikuji's complaint sounded sincere. It wasn't like I had no idea what she was getting at. More like the opposite. Why was I unable to control myself when it came to Hachikuji? What are you talking about? That was just a hug. They do it all the time in America.
Since when do people sneak up from behind to give a hug?
That's the problem with this country. No one's ever open to new things.
Just where do you think you're from? And also, Mr. Araragi, maybe you just meant to kiss me on the cheek, but you missed and touched the corner of my lips a couple of times.
I did? I'm sorry. Obviously, I didn't mean to go that far. What an unfortunate accident.
What can I say? With all the squeezing and grabbing you do, I feel like my breasts have gotten bigger. Maybe that old wives' tale about them growing when a man fondles them is actually true.
Really? You can grow?
Excuse me?
Hachikuji's pigtail stood up straight. Had she commanded them to? What kind of system was she running on? But, I said, I thought part of what made you special was that you don't grow up.
What a foolish observation. And next time you do something like that, I might have to tell Miss Hanakawa on you.
Ah, that would suck. I meant it. Lately, Hanakawa and Hachikuji were getting along too well for my liking. That alliance spelled trouble for me. Well, maybe it was more of a survivors group.
By the way, were you headed somewhere?
She could be easygoing. So easygoing that I worried about her sometimes. No, not exactly.
Searching for a new member of the Araragi harem.
I haven't been putting together such a tasteless outfit.
After all, a member of the first class, Mr. Ashino, has graduated. You'll have a hard time filling that hole?
Even if there were an Araragi harem, why count him as a former member? He's an aloha shirt-wearing geezer.
Be careful with too many. Developing the narrative will become a chore.
Hachikuji made the meta remark nonchalantly. It was also a realistic point. The harem bit was nonsense, but it's impossible to be fair to all of the people, all of the time. Taking someone's side means not taking somebody else's. It means being on somebody's opposite side. Defenders of justice only ever sided with justice. They were enemies of all but justice. You couldn't fake it. In short, justice is ready to betray us all. Good point. I'll keep it in mind.
Please do. Then again, as long as no one tries to take my spot, I guess I don't care how many new members you get.
Since when did you get tenure? Let me make one thing clear. The only official members are Shinobu and Hanakawa, damn straight. You're still just today's special guest, Hachikuji.
If you say so, maybe you'd better start moving this program along then.
I messed up. The MC was being called out by a guest. Oh, the humiliation. Well, okay. Have I mentioned Sengoku to you before? She's an old acquaintance. I was making my way over to her place to hang out today.
Oh, but why should you look so uneasy about it? But
I do?
yes, you look maroon.
That almost sounds like a word. Morose, she meant. True, I had been thinking gloomy thoughts. Keeping secrets from your family, who lived under the same roof as you, was unpleasant any way you looked at it. Still, I didn't think I was bothered enough that you could tell, just by looking. Did I seem so unhappy?
You did? It was an awkward expression, like if a story that constantly made self-deprecating jokes about not getting made into an anime to get adapted out of carelessness.
That specific a facial expression?
Relax. It's not as if an anime adaptation would force you to continue a story that already has a neat conclusion.
What the hell are you saying now? Hachikuji's speech broached a different dimension at times. This girl.
It's understandable to be nervous about unexpected good fortune, yet there's always something to gain from branching out into new territory.
I'd appreciate your words if I had such worries. Come to think of it, Oshino used to go on about anime adaptation this and anime adaptation that. I had no idea why, but maybe he and Hachikuji could have a constructive conversation. Now that I mention it, they've never met or talked to each other, directly or indirectly, have they? Anyway, I decided to play along with Hachikuji, and not just because I'd been reminded of Oshino. What do you mean, something to gain?
In a word, money?
Just one word, but a word too many. There's gotta be something else.
Huh? What else is there in this world besides money?
There's plenty. Like, love.
Love? Of course. They were selling it at the convenience store the other day.
They were selling it? At the convenience store?
Right. 298 yen.
So cheap.
When it comes down to it, what does humans but a transportation system for money?
Geez, what happened in your life to screw you up so bad? If you want to talk about it, I'm all ears.
Think about it. Between billionaire A, who says money makes the world go round, and billionaire B, who says money isn't everything, don't you actually prefer billionaire A?
That's relative. I prefer neither.
Money talk aside, Mr. Araragi, I'm dying to know what sort of dance they will have us do for the ending song.
Why is dancing a premise?
I hope it's sakes like for cat's eye.
If you don't mind just being in silhouette. Honestly, though, what a dated reference for a grade schooler. A classic or not, these days not even teenagers knew the ending animation to Cat's Eye. That's not it, Hachikuji. Actually, I can talk to you about it, can't I? Remember my vampiric nature?
Oh, I'm not upset, you silly Willy. You don't say.
Don't forget such a crucial bit of backstory. Hachikuji looked so genuinely surprised. It didn't seem like an act.
I thought you were just some guy who likes ramen noodles.
Since when is liking ramen part of my backstory?
Didn't you know every instant noodle flavor in the country?
I didn't, and I don't. What kind of sad expertise was that? At least have me sampling real ramen.
Koyomi Araragi, the man who sampled every local ramen. If I recall correctly, your current favorite is Yubaran King Melon Instant Ramen, correct?
There's no way that's a real flavor. Then again, wouldn't bet against it. They sell some pretty weird specialties as souvenirs sometimes.
I stand corrected, Mr. Araragi.
I almost want to change my name now. That sounds so badass. But I keep telling you, Hachikuji, my name is Araragi.
Sorry, a slip of the tongue.
No? It was on purpose.
Spill of the tongue?
It wasn't?
Hills on my tongue?
I'm not a convenience store. Love too. Were we going to go buy love? 298 yen.
I see, Mr. Araragi. A vampire. Now that you mention it, you might be right. Well, what about it?
Hey, I can't just come out and tell them even if they're family. I'm starting to wonder how much longer I can keep it a secret though. Sure, I'm human again, but the after effects remain.
There's such a thing as being too honest, isn't there? It's only natural to keep a secret or two, even from family members.
Hachikuji? Right. With everything she'd gone through, Hachikuji had her own distinct perspective when it came to family issues. Mine might just sound trivial to the point of being insensitive.
After all, when you tell someone a secret, you get that person involved, whether they want to be or not. Maybe sharing would make you feel better, but wouldn't you just be burdening them?
True.
Besides, if I had a son and he came home one day with some delusional story about being a vampire aberration or whatever, I'd rush him off to the hospital to be committed.
Too true. But there was certainly that. Maybe they didn't commit her, but in Senjogahara's case, that's the way her family at least saw it. They treated her aberration as an illness. And then there was Kanbaru. Hers meant that her left arm still hadn't returned to normal. How was she coping with it? She couldn't keep her family from noticing simply by wrapping her arm up in bandages, could she?
Mr. Araragi, what you need right now is yes. The courage to keep secrets.
Ah, now that's inspiring.
All I did was add courage to make it sound positive. I just a secret.
You let yours out of the bag.
Pretty much anything can come out sounding positive if you just slap courage too on it.
Come on. Language isn't as simple as that. It's a sophisticated communication tool formed over millennia. Have a little respect, Hachikuji.
Want me to prove it?
Go ahead. If you can convince me, I'll do a handstand right here in the middle of the street.
A handstand?
Yeah, think of it as advanced genuflection. But if you can't convince me, then you're the one who has to do a handstand, skirt and all. You're going to expose your kitty underwear to the public gaze until I say okay. Case in point, I still sounded like a creep, no matter how cheerfully I said it. There's language for you.
Fine, I accept your challenge.
At least you've got guts.
You're like a phoenix to the flame, Mr. Araragi.
That sounds kinda cool.
Let's start off small, the courage to lie to your lover.
Gulp. That wasn't half bad. You were just lying to your boyfriend or girlfriend, but adding courage to made it sound like a pious lie without even trying to make the point.
The courage to betray one's friends.
Gosh. That was amazing. In the end, you merely betrayed your friends, but without even trying to make such a point, it sounded like you were trying to protect them.
The courage to do harm.
A groan escaped my lips. You were just being a nuisance, but why did I see a man willing to suffer pariahdom in order to do the right thing? Without even trying to make the point too.
The courage to grope.
She shit. This was turning into a bloodbath. Even a crime as low as groping sounded like it was driven by some higher purpose for whose sake the perpetrator had no choice but to stand falsely accused. Without even trying to make the point. Again.
The courage to be indolent?
I incredible. My back was against the wall. You were just wasting time and doing nothing. But it sounded like you were abasing yourself and living in poverty for some great cause without ever trying to make such a point at all. B. But it was still too early to admit defeat.
The courage to admit defeat.
I admit defeat.
Ah, Enchanted by the sound of it, I'd gone ahead and admitted defeat. There's language for you. It's quite a simple thing, really.
Now then, Mr. Araragi, let me see how advanced your genuflection is.
Of course, the courage to stand on one's head. I dropped into a handstand, in the middle of my own neighborhood. I was glad Karen and Tsukihi weren't here to see this. Well, in fact, Tsukihi aside, Karen used to walk to school on her hands all the time before she started junior high. She'd been a laughingstock. She'd boast that she was training her arms, but what she was really working out was my capacity for shame.
Yikes, watching someone your age do a handstand just feels wrong. You can stop now. Really? You can stop, Mr. Araragi. Seriously, I'm begging you. It's even more embarrassing to be watching next to you. Why persist on standing on your head like it's a promise to a friend who passed away?
Actually, as disappointed as I am that I didn't get to see you do a handstand, from this angle I can see your panties just fine. Our wager. Either way, I was never going to lose.
I'm not upset, you silly Willy.
Lee, Miss Hachikuji flushed red in embarrassment, but her first reaction wasn't to hold down her skirt, but instead to kick me in the face. Thanks to the angle, her low kick hit me full force square in the face. Not many situations where a low kick does that.
Mr. Araragi, you pervert!
The courage to be branded a pervert.
Wow, cool. When you put it that way, I'm tempted to let you look all you want. Especially since you've managed to maintain your handstand even after getting kicked in the face. The very technique I created turned against me, oh, the irony.
Aha! Your hubris was your downfall, Hachikuji. I stole your secret technique and perfected it.
Huh? I'm not upset, you silly Willy.
I'm sorry for saying you were wearing kitty underwear, though. I would have never imagined you'd be wearing see-through black panties.
Excuse me, what are you talking about? Look closer. You're going to damage my brand. I know what's demanded of me and stick to kitty underwear. Can't you see the bunny on them?
I don't see any bunny. If you want me to, you're gonna have to come closer.
Like this?
Well, I really didn't want my neighbors to start gossiping about this. I shifted my weight over and planted my feet back on the ground. Ah, shucks. My hands were dirty. I clapped them together to clean them. It was probably my soul that was stained now, but there was no clapping it. Anyway, Hachikuji, what were we talking about?
About how much you love panties.
Honestly, I could take them or leave them. Just ask Hanekawa. Hachikuji offered no rejoinder, which was rare. Had Hanekawa told her something? If so, I was in hot water. Damn, the survivors group was a menace. I was going to have to nip it in the bud. Ah, right. We were saying it would be better if I kept all the aberration stuff secret.
Yes, indeed.
Well, I suppose I wouldn't like being committed. Since I'm still a tiny bit undead, they might turn me into some sort of science experiment.
True. I hope they just treat you as a nutcase. To know about aberrations is to become involved with them. If that's true, forget about other people. You're the one who will wind up getting sucked into more funny business.
To know about aberrations is to become involved with them. Hadn't Ashino said something like that? Coming into contact with an aberration, even just once, supposedly gave that world a hold on you and you got sucked in, unable to escape. Hanekawa, enchanted by a cat. Senjogahara, met by a crab. Hachikuji, misled by a snail. Kanbaro, heard by a monkey. Sengoku, entwined by a serpent. And of course, it went without saying, me, bitten by a vampire. We were all semi-denizens of that world now. It was like having one foot in the grave, and not just metaphorically, in which case, if I cared about the other person, if I cared about Karen and Tsukihi, it was safer for them not to know.
You could lay everything bare, including the risks so that your family is steeled for whatever may come, but that option seems pretty risky.
Yeah, it would definitely be high risk, plus it doesn't sound like it would be very high return. In that case, I'd rather go the low risk, low return route.
Lowly risk, lowly return? Oh my! What a stunning philosophy. What a stunning philosophy.
I've never heard of such a route. Hachikuji liked to pretend I had a Lolita complex, which wasn't true. I don't have a pedophiliac bone in my body. Just look at my actual girlfriend, Senjogahara. There's not an ounce of Lolita about her. If anything, she's mature beyond her age.
But you're just a sham couple, right?
Why would you think that? I guess there are sham marriages, but a sham couple.
You've got a Lolita complex and are actually in love with me, while Miss Senjokahara is a lesbian who is in love with Miss Kambari.
Ack, that doesn't sound like a joke. I don't want to think about it. I like you well enough, Hachikuchi, but the second half is too much. The Valhalla duo is getting too cozy lately, as if they have some emptiness to fill.
Anyway, Mr. Lolling Aragi!
I don't need a funny tagline, and LOL doesn't have any pedo nuance, okay?
You say that, but when you move out to live your own, I bet you'll be rolling out a carpet!
These days, most apartments don't have Tommy mattresses, but so what?
When you go fishing, try trolling!
Damn, if I knew what you meant. What a compendium of rhymes. And she was a grade schooler, too.
Tew.
She was using a pause as punctuation.
Anyway, Mr. Anyway, Mr. Karagi.
That's actually some fine wordplay. Hachikuji. But this isn't Girl of the Alps, and I'm not a well-off young lady trying to stand up from her wheelchair. Miss Claragi is going to stay put. My name is Araragi.
Willie? Sorry, a slip of the tongue.
No, it was on purpose.
I slip on the tongue.
It wasn't?
I slip on the tongue.
What a place to land on. Hell, the way she talked? These weren't slips of the tongue, but somersaults?
Anyway, Mr. Aragi, operations are the backstage, so to speak.
Backstage?
Usually all you see is the actual stage. That's what we know as reality. But sometimes some lame-o comes along who wants to peek behind the curtain. It's the sort of thing where, if you don't need to know, it's better not to. You might convince yourself that by knowing what goes on backstage, you're unraveling the secret mysteries of the world. But in fact, by learning about aberrations, all you're doing is creating more questions without answers.
I see. I was surprised. Since when did Hachikuji get so astute? Back in the day, she didn't even seem to understand aberrations at all. Or, perhaps, what she didn't was her own self. And as far as not knowing goes, we don't really know. But that allows you to say certain things. In which case, maybe I needed to follow her lead.
You worry too much. Why make things so complicated, however insurmountable it seems now? In 100 years, we'll look back on it and laugh.
That's a long time to wait. I'd probably be dead by then. As a doornail.
Yes. In other words, after all that time worrying, we'll laugh at you after you die.
That's terrible.
They say that gossip only spreads to 75 people.
That many?
We live in the internet age, so if 75 people know, so does the world.
Why tell me that?
If worrying about something doesn't lead to a solution, then it's not worth worrying about in the first place. You're like a voice actor complaining that she sounds like an anime character.
That does sound pretty pointless.
Putting that aside, how come when one main gobbler says, "Thank you for all your fan letters, I make sure to read every one," and another one says, "Thank you for all your blog comments, I make sure to read every one," even though they're basically doing the same thing, for some reason it still leaves a different impression.
What a stunning insight into the millennial generation. Yes, that's an exaggeration.
Anyway, if one of your family members ever does step behind the curtain, you can be there to guide them, but until then it would be better if you just did nothing.
Doing nothing was an option. She had a point.
Or to be blunt, stop thinking about it so much.
Yeah, you're probably right. Why not get into the occasional scuffle with my sisters? After all, I wasn't nearly as grown up as Tsukihi seemed to think. It was just that I'd taken a glimpse behind the scenes. When it came down to it, we were just kids. Me included.
Yes, Mr. Aragi. To be blunter, stop thinking about your little sister so much.
Why the emphasis? You're making it sound like something else. I'd said family precisely for that reason. But I guess I wasn't fooling anyone. We really got into this. I was on my way to Sengoku's house. It was about time I got going. Sorry, Hachikuji. I didn't mean to keep you. You were probably on your way somewhere too.
Oh, no, not really. I just wander the streets lost like this all the time.
Come on.
Or to be bluntest, I was just taking a walk thinking, didn't Mr. Aragi live around here? I haven't run into him lately, but maybe I will.
Hey. Really. What a nice thing to say. Good girl. Hachikuji, from now on. When you spot me, you can be the one to run up and hug me.
I'm afraid I'd rather not. Don't get the wrong idea, please. You're totally not my type.
I've been dumped by a grade schooler. The shock! The impact of being asked Not to get the wrong idea by a girl who wasn't a tsundere. Who's your type, anyway?
I go wild for hermits, especially the old mountain-dwelling variety.
I've heard of liking older men. That's ancient. I'd have to live a few more centuries before I qualified. That was too high a hurdle. I don't get it. We've been on countless adventures and even had brushes with death together.
So what if we did?
Have you ever heard of the suspension bridge effect?
You mean the psychological thing where you're alone with someone on a suspension bridge and you suddenly want to shove the other person off even though you don't dislike him?
It's nothing so scary. Well, there probably was something like that in psychology, like an impulse to shove the person in front of you onto the tracks, for no reason when you're waiting on the platform for a train, the exact opposite of the suspension bridge effect.
Actually, I've never gone on any adventures or had brushes with death with you.
What are you saying? How many times have I used my Avon-style sword kill technique to save you?
You're a disciple of Avon, as in the Dragon Quest anime.
That's right, a hero who kills.
I don't remember it all.
Ah, I see. During the climax of our adventure, you tried to protect me and took a blow to your head. The injury must have brought on amnesia.
Such an affecting conclusion.
Indeed. I'll never forget the first thing you said to me when you finally woke up in the hospital.
Who am I and how did I get here?
No. Who are you, and do you go to a good school?
Struck with amnesia, I'm still a captive to our educational system.
But even if you've forgotten me, Hachikuji, I'll never forget you.
So you were caring for me devotedly as the credits rolled.
No, it ended with me marrying your little sister.
You forgot me.
No, you're always there in my heart. True. Besides, Hachikuji doesn't even have a sister. She is an only child. Listen up, though. Before long, I'll be the kind of man you can fall for. But don't try crawling back to me then, because it'll be too late.
Are you sure?
Ah, sorry. I was being difficult. Please declare your love to me whenever, even if I'm already on my deathbed. How pathetic. Who'd ever fall for a guy like that? Until next time.
Yes, see you again.
Hachikuji, you're not going to disappear, are you? Huh? Hachikuji cocked her head at me in response. She seemed genuinely confused. It's just I meant it when I said I was worried after not seeing you for so long. Ashina went somewhere, and one day you might disappear too. No. Hachikuji had her own stuff to worry about. In fact, it might be better for her if her family circumstances demanded it. But still. Even so.
Tea?
Her expression was so childlike.
Mr. Araragi, who's usually so busy accommodating everyone else, can only act needy like this with me and Bet and maybe Shinobu.
Huh.
I was right, you are Mr. Longing Araragi.
I wish she wouldn't say that. In the first place, Shinobu was 500 years old, not a Lolita, but a Granny Dolores.
I'm not upset, you silly Willy. I'm honored, really.
Hachikuji.
Let me ask you a question, too, Mr. Araragi. If I were ever in real trouble and needed help, could you please come save me?
Save. Ashino detested that word. For my part, though, I still felt as if that's what he'd done for me. And I wanted to do what he did. Of course. I'd be there so fast that no one else would have a chance to save you first.
I can come to you when I need to talk.
Hey, if you didn't, I'd get mad at you.
I thought you might say so. There must be some reason that I'm able to stay in this town even when I'm not lost anymore. Until that reason becomes clear, I won't be going anywhere.
She was talking about herself as if she were discussing a stranger. In a sense, I suppose she was. If you didn't understand yourself, who could be more of a stranger? A reason, huh?
Yes, so even if it wasn't going to be an anime, there would have been a sequel.
She was talking nonsense again.
She was losing me, but she went on. Besides, wasn't the previous ending a little negligent towards me? After heading out to search for Shinobu, where on earth did I go?
Don't ask me. Only you know where. You probably just got lost again. Come to think of it, she did make an appearance in the epilogue. Maybe the MC really was off his game. We needed to hold a review meeting. But Hachikuji, if it means you going away, I don't want any sequels. So what if we never found out what's keeping you here?
I'm glad to hear that. Well, even if I do disappear one day, I'll make sure I say goodbye to you first.
I see. Okay. By all means, please do. I couldn't help thinking of Oshino, who had made a similar promise and left without a word in the end, but nodded.
Yes, it's scary when someone gets mad at you.
Having said that as if she were deflecting my words again, Hachikuji extinguished her smile. Nadeko Sengoku, second-year middle schooler. While some might point to her unusually quiet personality, if I were to pick her most distinctive feature, I would say that it was her bangs. Instead of parting her long bangs to the side, she let them hang down in front, half shielding her eyes like Kaede Rukawa. Sengoku seemed to be able to peek out from the slits, but for those looking at her it was almost impossible to see her eyes. Her distinctive hairstyle might have made her seem a little peculiar. But then again, she actually wore her hair that way out of shyness, so I suppose it couldn't be helped. Speaking of which, Sengoku usually wore a hat when she went outside. Apparently a hat is a metaphor for defenses you build around yourself. Oshino, too, thought of her as a bashful little birdie, but she took avoidance to a level that went beyond being bashful or reserved. It was more like she distrusted people. As her honorary big brother, I worried about her future. How was she going to get through life? At least, that's what I was wondering as I rang the bell to Sengoku's home. She lives in a normal 2-story house, not a rundown apartment like Senjogahara or an overgrown samurai manor like Kanbaru. Just normal. When the door opened, I was in for a surprise. No, surprise didn't even begin to describe it. I was flabbergasted. Sengoku's bangs were pushed back. They were held in place, along with the hair on the side of her head, by a cute pink headband, an understated pink, not shocking, and her eyes were in plain view. In fact, her whole face was on display. So that's what she looked like. I knew she was cute, but she was even cuter than I imagined. Even though she was younger and a little sister figure to me, I felt my pulse quicken just a bit. Sengoku had a habit of staring at the ground, but today she came to the door with her head held high. Her cheeks even seemed a little flushed. Was she looking forward to hanging out that much? Sengoku, is this how you usually dress at home? She was flustered. That was the Sengoku I remembered. I was starting to worry if I had the wrong house. No one but Sengoku, though, could get so agitated over a simple question.
What do you mean?
It's just your bangs.
My bangs? What's wrong with them? It's not like I worked up the courage just because you were coming over for the first time.
Well, I guess if she said so, she probably always used a headband at home, just as her skirt, which was short enough to expose her pale thighs, her pretty camisole, and the whisper-thin cardigan she wore on top were her usual attire. After all, it was August, the middle of summer. Phew. For a second there, I almost started to think that she'd gone out of her way to get all dolled up for me. Can you imagine? That would almost make it seem like she was thinking of me as a boy. No way, no chance. It wasn't even possible of Metaphore.
Please, Big Brother Koyomi. Come in.
Yeah. As I stepped inside, I noticed something. There were no shoes by the entrance. There was a pair of school shoes, yes, which I figured had to be Sengoku's. But where were her parents' shoes? Sengoku? Your mom and dad?
They both work on Saturdays.
Oh, mine do too. So that's why you answered the phone when I called. Wait. Should I be barging into a girl's house while her parents were out and she was alone? I'd assumed they'd be here. Crap. I knew I should have forced Tsukihi to come with me. In fact, it wasn't too late, and we could still reschedule for another day. While I was deciding what to do, Sengoku locked the front door. It was a double lock. She even put on the chain. Sengoku took security very seriously. I suppose it was fine then. It meant she trusted me. It was up to me to meet that trust. My duty as someone who was older.
My room is on the 2nd floor, up the stairs.
Kids' rooms usually are.
I've already gotten it ready.
Oh. I climbed the stairs as directed. Sengoku's room, about 100 square feet in size, was a typical middle school girl's. Every inch, right down to the wallpaper and the curtains and the doorknob covers, exuded a girly aura of strawberry hues. It was so unlike my sister's den. The closet door, however, seemed to lack the same feminine strawberry aura. In fact, Sengoku, that closet...
Don't open it. I won't forgive you for it.
She'd interrupted while I was still on the eye and finished speaking before the T had left my mouth. Who knew "won't forgive you" was part of Sengoku's vocabulary? It was always worth visiting someone at home. As soon as Sengoku saw I was fully in the room, she locked the door behind us. I guess it only made sense that a girl her age, just hitting adolescence, would have a lock on her door. Hold on. I understood locking the front door, but hers too? Was I trapped? No. I was being silly. Sengoku would never. Why would she? Anyway, it was probably just out of habit. She was bashful and reserved. There was nothing strange about her making a custom of it. There was a tray set down on the carpet with soda and snacks on it. That must have been what she meant by getting ready. How cute.
Okay, please sit there.
You mean on the bed? Are you sure?
Yes, you're not allowed to sit anywhere.
I guess Sengoku wasn't one for options. Everything else was out, only this. Was she an eliminationist, as in the process of elimination? Not that I've ever heard of such an ism. I sat down on the bed, and Sengoku sat on the swiveling chair in front of her homework desk. Adjustable height Peru mecha brand.
Phew, it's hot in this room, isn't it?
With those words, Sengoku removed her cardigan quite suddenly. This room? But wasn't this her room? If you're hot, why not turn on the air conditioner on that wall?
And no, don't you care about our planet?
We seem to have a hostage situation, with Earth as one big hostage.
Global warming is out of control thanks to carbon dioxide, but this is dioxide.
Oh, of course. Her explanation betrayed a serious lack of understanding of chemistry. Not that I can tell you why global warming is happening. If there are ice ages, then the opposite must be true. And apparently they don't know for certain that carbon dioxide is the true cause.
We didn't always have air conditioners? Clear thy mind of mundane thoughts, and even fire will be a cool cucumber.
Creating organic matter from fire, that's some heavy alchemy. It would be downright divine.
Why not take off your hoodie if you're feeling hot too?
Huh? Me?
Even if you aren't, you're not allowed not to take off your hoodie.
So, it's my only option. What a scary planet. Kambar would love this scene. I guess it wasn't that unusual, though, for a kid in junior high to be sensitive about the environment. As her big brother, I needed to humor her, and it was hot in here. In fact, it almost felt like a heater had been running until just a few moments ago instead of the AC. I was wearing a sleeveless tank top under my hoodie. Since Sengoku was in a camisole, both of us were baring our upper arms. I was one thing, but she really was just a kid not to have the slightest qualm about doing so in front of a boy.
Now, Big Brother Koyomi, let's have some soda. There's only one cup, though.
Why just one? If she'd gotten things ready, why the oversight?
You don't mind sharing, do you? We're like brother and sister, after all.
Well, I guess not. Wasn't going down to the kitchen and getting another cup an option. Oh, right. She wasn't one for options. I bet I wasn't allowed not to share. For some reason, I was starting to feel like a captured little animal. Ordinarily, that was Sengoku. I went ahead and took a sip of the soda. I thought I detected a faint trace of alcohol. Sengoku, is this booze?
It's just cola.
Well, taste-wise, sure.
But it's extra carbonated.
They still make that extra carbonated cola, a terrifying concoction whose carbonation level was intoxicating. And now that I looked closer, the snacks laid out were all chocolate bonbons. It was as if the idea was to get our guest drunk and unconscious. What a devious assortment. But I'm sure it was just a coincidence, and you could hardly expect a middle schooler to properly entertain a guest. It would be ungracious to complain. I should think of it as a chance to try something unusual. There's no TV in here, huh?
No, I don't watch much TV. It's bad for your eyes.
Said the girl with her prominent bangs. There was such a big hole in her logic that I didn't know where to begin. Maybe she worried about her eyesight more than other people precisely because she liked to keep her bangs long. Then I guess you don't play video games very much either. Though nowadays, even without a TV set, there are handhelds.
Not much. Maybe some of the popular games.
Oh? Like what?
Metal Gear.
Ah!
On the MSX2?
What? What? The MSX2? What kind of middle school kid these days had one? Sengoku was full of surprises, as always.
It's downstairs in the living room. I wasn't really planning on it, but if you insist...
No, I wouldn't come over to someone's house to play a single-player game.
I also have a Papira too.
Seriously? Why not a PlayStation 2? Anyway, Sengoku, you mentioned preparing. Did you get something ready?
I did. Let's play the game of kings.
She pulled out 2 disposable chopsticks, and the tip of one was painted red. This was tough. How to explain? Sengoku, are you sure you know what that is? It's not like the king in a deck of cards.
I do. It's like Simon says.
Well, that wasn't completely off the mark, but it was a drinking game.
The king's word is dissolute.
Tyrannical in its own way. I quipped, though I was unsure if she was joking. I glanced at the chopsticks. Well, I've never played it myself, so I don't know the details. But it's not meant for just 2 people.
Why not? I'd be fine either way. I don't mind giving orders or taking them.
Sure. But how about we try something else? She was probably too young to understand. While her innocence was refreshing, sometimes I had trouble coping with it. I bet moms feel this way when they're asked where babies come from. Sengoku seemed a little lost, perhaps because her plan had been dashed. Instead of giving up, however, she placed the chopsticks to the side and said,
Then why don't we play the game of life?
"The game of life? Ah, okay.
Life's word is absolute.
So deep." Sengoku left saying she was pretty sure the board was in another room. Also,
You can't open the closet, but please be my guest otherwise. Maybe flip through that photo album.
why did she want me to? It was a mystery. After a long wait, Sengoku finally returned. She seemed a little disappointed that the album was still sitting on the bookshelf. But yeah, I was probably just imagining things. Speaking of which, the tomes lined up on those shelves were quite unique. There wasn't a single manga in sight, just rows of Iwanami paperback classics, not the average junior high student's library. Did she want me to think she was grown up and always read such books? Some people might even wonder if she'd taken them from her father's study and put them there to impress her guest. Besides, I could have sworn Sengoku was seriously into manga. I think I even remember her talking about the final episode of Dodge Dan Pei. Anyway, I hadn't played the game of life in I forget how long. I recall having a hard time understanding how to use promissory notes when I was a kid. Haha, right. Didn't we play this together at my house once?
Yes, I remember.
You do?
In fact, I never forgot it.
I guess Sengoku had a pretty good memory. My recollections of her from back then were a bit hazy. Mostly, I just had an impression of her as a girl who liked to stare at her feet a lot. The game of life was also better suited to more players, but in the end it was a game of chance spin the dial, move your little car piece along the board, and see what kind of luck or misfortune you find. We ended up having fun. I almost felt like a kid again. Except, the board was set down on the carpet, and the way Sengoku was leaning over, I kept catching suggestive glances inside her camisole. And to make matters worse, since she was sitting in front of me, I was in constant danger of seeing up her short skirt. Honestly, she was just a kid, but if it were anyone other than Sengoku, I might have mistaken her precarious posture as an attempt at seduction. This wasn't the first time the thought occurred to me. But she kept her guard up in entirely the wrong places. Wait, the last time I thought so, wasn't it concerning her bangs? Yet today, her face was already on full display too. Weird. She wasn't even wearing a bra underneath her camisole. In fact, wasn't a camisole like a piece of underwear? I wasn't entirely sure. Neither the bigger or littler of my little sisters ever wore anything so fancy. Just jerseys and kimonos. Not that Sengoku's honorary big brother would have untoward thoughts at the sight of her body. You're lucky I'm such a gentleman, Sengoku.
Ah, you landed on the marriage square. Take a pin.
Okay?
If I ever get married, I hope it'll be with you, big brother Koyomi.
Does this game allow players to marry each other these days? I didn't recall such a rule.
Well, no. I'm just saying ideally.
Huh. Come to think of it, when Karen and Tsukihi were little, they used to say that when they got older, they were going to marry me. What a nostalgic memory. Sengoku wasn't as young as they were then, and she was probably just paying lip service. Lip service?
You mean? Like a kiss?
That's not what I meant.
It's a little embarrassing, but if that's the kind of service you want...
Whoa. What kind of brother figure was I? That made me a straight-up pervert.
By the way, I've been thinking,
Yeah? What?
maybe I should stop referring to you as my brother. It seems a little childish. After all, you're not really my brother.
Didn't I once have a similar conversation with Kanbaro? As far as I could recall, it hadn't ended to my liking. I was starting to get a bad feeling, but changing the subject would be almost as awkward. I had to play it by ear and go with the flow. For my part, I kind of liked it that she called me Big Brother Koyomi, like she used to. Well, anything's fine. What do you want to call me? Sengoku gave her reply as if she'd chosen it long in advance.
Dear.
Oh, of course, a formal term. Nothing wrong with that. No reason whatsoever to wonder why talking about marriage had gotten us here. My bad feelings weren't always borne out these days, eh? For a while, the probability had been a nasty 100%. Sure, I don't mind.
Then.
For some reason, Sengoku's cheeks flushed and she seemed bashful. With her bangs pulled back, her face was surprisingly expressive as she spoke the word.
Dear.
What a funny girl. Listen, Sengoku, honey.
Dear and honey. Oh.
Her face was beet red now. She was clearly agitated. Huh? That was just another common term, wasn't it? Were Sengoku and I speaking different dialects or something? Maybe I needed to seek out language master Hachikuji. Anyway, Sengoku, listen. Has anything odd happened lately?
Woo. What do you mean?
Nothing, but there was that last time. It was actually how she was dressed today that made me think of it. The Sengoku I'd met for the first time in years would have never exposed so much of her body due to an aberration. And due to human stuff, well, according to Ashino, her case differed from what Hanako-wa Senjogahara, Hachikuji, or I went through and shouldn't be thought of in the same way. But that didn't change the fact that she was more likely to be drawn to aberrations. Being too vigilant was another way to have the rug pulled out from under you, but I needed to check up on her 5.
No, not in particular.
I see.
But those icky charms are still popular.
At your school?
Yes, but not just mine. Among junior high kids.
Sengoku seemed to hesitate for a moment before making her mind and speaking up.
I think, Rara, they might be up to something.
Rara was Tsukihi's nickname back in grade school, excerpted from Araragi. They had to mean Karen too. That is to say, both of the fire sisters. Up to something. Up to something. Up to something. Such an ambiguous, worrying phrase that you could interpret any way you wanted. Up to something. Man, for a change, be up to nothing.
The other day, Rara asked me about the snake thing. Obviously, I couldn't tell her the truth, and my story came out half-baked. But apparently they've been going around asking questions and looking into things.
Things. I needed to learn more. But did I really? Come to think of it, Karen going out today? Was it related? When it came to middle school shenanigans, there was no way the fire sisters were going to keep their noses out of it. In other words, about those charms? But they were actually bogus as curses, right? It was just that the way you tried to deal with it was mistaken? Mistaken. The way she tried to deal with it was too appropriate and therefore mistaken. Wasn't that the gist of it? Or to be more precise, it was also the baneful influence of Shinobu Ashino, an iron-blooded, hot-blooded yet cold-blooded vampire, a legend among legends visiting our town. Which also meant, with that problem resolved, middle school kids messing around with mumbo-jumbo shouldn't have any real effect.
Yes, I'm pretty sure my case was the only genuine aberration that materialized. At least I think so.
What's the problem then?
Well, I doubt Rara is up in arms about the charms effect. They probably don't believe in aberrations at all, I think.
Yeah, you're probably right. My sisters were fairly realistic. They might be scared of ghosts but didn't believe in them. That was their stance.
I think this bogus magic stuff being a fad in the first place is what they don't like. They want to find out who's behind it or something.
They were trying to pinpoint the charm source? That seemed like a crazy idea, even for my sisters. It was a tall order if you thought about it. It didn't become a fad because someone tried to make it a fad. Even if they did find someone, it's not that person's responsibility at this point. Gossip may or may not only last for 75 people, but by number 75 you'd be talking about a totally different individual, almost like in a game of telephone.
It's so Rara or Fire Sisters. They're assuming that someone with a motive turned charms into a fad.
It does sound typical of them. Oh boy. Perhaps I needed to have a talk with Karen. It might be fine to just leave it alone, but I knew things could get dicey because the case had a precedent called Nadeko Sengoku. One wrong turn, and you could end up with one foot in the grave. Or worse, both feet. And, if you were like me, maybe your whole head vary a how head.
Be Big Brother Koyomi?
It must have been because I was brooding. But Sengoku called out to me, reverting to my old appellation in doing so. I shook myself out of my reverie and glanced up. She looked upset, almost ready to cry. She was probably feeling bad that telling me had me so concerned. She was such a decent kid. Too bad she wasn't my real sister, I thought. If she were, we'd never ever get into scuffles. It's nothing, Sengoku. I'm fine. By the way, I think it suits you. Your bangs. Why don't you wear them like that outside the house, too?
I can't. I'd be embarrassed. But if you say so, I'll try.
As if to replace the missing bangs, she brought both hands up to cover her face. Trying is a good thing. I nodded. It was nice watching over a person's growth. I hope to see her through it. By the way, Sengoku, we're almost done with our game of life. What do you want to play next?
Twister.
Huh. I've never heard of that one. You're gonna have to teach me.
Of course I'll teach. You and your
That sounds fun. Still, was it just my imagination? In her eyes that pulling back her bangs had exposed, I seemed to catch, every now and then, a brazen glint that belonged more to a rattlesnake than Sengoku. Originally, I had planned to stay at Sengoku's house until evening, but her mother came home unexpectedly a little after noon. Apparently, there was some sort of trouble at her work. It was no business of mine. Sengoku, however, went into a panic.
I kept it a secret that you were coming over. I'm gonna get scolded. She's gonna think I'm a pervert dressed up like this.
I had no idea what she meant by pervert there, but the important point was that she had kept my coming over a secret. There was a world of difference between not having told and secret, which meant that as far as Sengoku's mother was concerned, I was a male neighbor who snuck into the house while she was away. There didn't seem to be any way I could explain, so I slipped out of the house without Mrs. Thereabout. Sengoku seeing me almost like an adulterer. Luckily, Sengoku had hidden my shoes after I'd left them at the entrance, but I had to wonder if she'd been planning for such an eventuality all along. I hadn't planned on getting chased out, or running off. Like that, I'd give Sengoku a call later to check up on her. But at the same time, I couldn't shake the feeling that my purity as a boy might have been saved thanks to Mrs. Sengoku's troubles at work. It was just a feeling, and a silly one. Anyway, I suddenly had more free time on my hands. I wasn't supposed to be home until evening, so I didn't want to deal with Tsukiyi asking me all sorts of questions if I returned early. I wasn't in the mood to be laughed at by her once she heard why I was home. Besides, Karen probably wouldn't be back until late, and if I wanted to verify what Sengoku had said, it'd be better if I waited until both of my sisters were there. In which case, I wasn't planning on calling until tomorrow. But hey! I stopped along the side of the road, beneath a street lamp that was serving no purpose in the middle of the day, and pulled out my cell phone. I was dialing a junior of mine at the school I attended, now at Suhai. Second year Saruga Kanbaro. Enter, stage right. I hope she's not busy. I never can tell with her.
Suruga Kanbaro speaking. Major armaments include an accelerator device?
I didn't know you were a cyborg. That made perfect sense. When you thought about it, she even talked like a robot.
You must be my senior Araragi, judging from your voice and quipping.
Why was she still relying on my voice in straight man ways? Learn how to use the contact list on your phone already. Kanbaro, what do you do when someone besides me calls?
Not to worry. Very few have this number in the first place, and I can tell them all by their voice and quipping style.
Do you never get to play the straight man?
I guess I'm queer through and through.
Fair enough. Despite her personality, Saruga Kanbaro was the biggest star in Naotsuhai history. A miracle sportswoman who'd led our flagging basketball team to the national finals. She was incredibly fast, rumored to run the 50-meter dash in under 5 seconds, and used that speed to dominate the court and captivate crowds. Even now, after resigning as captain of the team a little early due to delicate circumstances, she was as popular as ever, and probably couldn't afford to give her number out to just anyone. The dilemma of stardom? Maybe I ought to understand. But stardom aside, as you might guess from the fact that she didn't know how to use her phone's contact list, Kanbaro wasn't very good with tech. I doubted she made many calls on her end. Kanbaro, are you busy right now?
That is a vapid question. The debt of gratitude I owe you is so great that any request from you comes before all else. For instance, even if I were in the midst of a struggle to save the world, I'd rush to your side if you called for me, the world be damned.
As gallant as ever. But could she please put the world first and me second? Without the world, I'd die too. Actually, I'm not calling for you. Can I just come to you?
What is this?
You're home now, aren't you?
Yes. Just a second. I'll get naked right away.
Why? Since when is that a prerequisite for chatting? Who starts taking their clothes off in the middle of a call?
What are you saying? It's none other than you that I'm conversing with. Even if we're only on the phone, simple etiquette demands that I disrobe.
Don't make it sound like I'm the one who's clueless. And you're always looking for an excuse to strip. This was a new format, though, with less and less rhyme or reason. After Kanbaro got excited over the word rebuff the other day, I was seriously beginning to worry about her, but it looked like she'd gone and crossed the line.
But if I don't seize every opportunity to get naked, how will I ever drive home that I'm a pervert?
You want to?
Some heartless people out there are accusing me of being all talk and not being that pervy after all, and it's been getting on my nerves. I can't think of anything worse a person might say about me.
Nobody's saying that. And, don't let such a thing get on your nerves. Save your anger for bigger stuff.
I act like a pervert when I've never been with a man, so I can't blame people for being suspicious. But it's not my fault, is it, that I don't have a partner?
You really want me to answer that?
Of course they don't know that it's just a trifling detail and only a matter of time, since I now have a comrade as illustrious as yourself.
Don't include me in your team of perverts, especially not as some kind of forerunner. There's not a single aspect of perversion where I come out ahead of her. Just keep your clothes on.
You wish, but aren't you underestimating my speed? I'm already naked, sir.
Sir? Too fast. Ah, right. During the summer, she wore nothing but undies around the house. All she had to do was slip off 2 items, so I guess it wasn't unbelievable. Wait, she was pretty much naked before she even started. Kanbaru, your level of perversion is beginning to exceed what I can handle.
Huh, how unlike my revered senior. I'm in my own room, at home. Shouldn't I feel free to dress her and dress as I see fit?
She had a point. Her house rules were her domain. At the Araragi residence too, chilling in just our underwear, after taking a bath, was considered okay, and even if we didn't quite walk around in the nude, Karen and Sukihi and I weren't above doing so half-naked. You're right, sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. It's not like you got buck naked outside the house.
As long as you understand, I enjoy shedding inhibitions, but outside my house, very seldom.
You mean there are times?
For instance, at the public bath.
D. She was toying with me. True, a public bath was outside the house.
And with the basketball team.
You're not tricking me again. It was in the showers during summer basketball camp, right?
Oh, so close. You're right about basketball camp, but I actually put together a session my first year where we were nude the entire time.
I hope they closed down the whole club.
Obviously, I'm joking. If you believe that kind of nonsense, then maybe you really do have a dirtier mind than me.
What? What? Ouch. Oh, heavens above, punish this one for her sins. Surprisingly, the heavens answered my prayer right away.
York!
I heard Kambara groan, and even the sound of her body sliding to the floor. Something had happened. Kanbagora, what's wrong?
I forgot to shut the door to my room. My grandma just walked past me down the hall.
Ah, okay. By the way, Kambaro lived with her grandparents, and it was just the 3 of them. They'd raised her since she was a preteen, like their own precious daughter. She was Grandpa and Grandma's special little girl.
She looked at me like she was so disappointed and walked on without slowing her pace or saying a word.
Well, seeing her granddaughter talking on the phone in her birthday suit after all the loving care she lavished on you. Apparently, being naked in your own room wasn't their house rule, just Kanbaru's personal rule.
Ah! Ah! Ah!
The blow had been too much. It wasn't often I got a chance to see her in such a state. No, I couldn't see her over the phone, but I had to visit her pronto. I might never enjoy the opportunity again. Kanbare, I hate to bother you while you're in a state of shock, but could we get back to what we were talking about?
Yes. I'm not sure I'll have anything very interesting to say now, but will you still accept me, my senior Araragi?
She really was down in the dumps. Hang in there. Don't worry, you're super charming right now. My tutoring for today got cancelled. I promised to help you clean up your room tomorrow, but mind if I headed over today instead? As the former captain of the basketball team, Kanbaru tended to be thoughtful, but she was surprisingly lax when it came to her own affairs, like how she forgot to close the door just now. Despite her interest in self-discipline, she was also a slovenly mess. In short, her room was a pigsty. It went beyond just clutter. It was so bad that if her fans ever had a peek, they might actually faint. In fact, I almost did the first time I was invited to her room, Japanese style, large at 12 mats. Her futon hadn't been cleared away, clothes were littered all over the floor, books stood and fell in great piles, mysterious cardboard boxes hogged every corner, and, worst headache of all, there was no wastebasket in the room, just plastic bag upon plastic bag of unsorted trash to money where they may. Couldn't she at least take out the garbage? As spacious as the room was, the only area left open was atop the futon, yet pens and notebooks and other stationery had found their way under it too. How could she sleep like that? And so on. Unable to relax, I'd set about cleaning up her room almost as soon as I'd arrived, and since then it's fallen to me to clean her room twice per month. On the 15th and 30th, that's what I did. Every 2 weeks, Kanbaru meticulously, or perhaps obligingly managed to return her room almost to its original disaster state. Anyone could make a mess, but it took a certain talent to make her kind. She could hurt herself lying around naked in that room, for real.
Of course I don't mind. I'm so grateful for your help. I would never presume to complain. I can adjust my schedule to fit yours anytime.
She still sounded weak. Long story short, Kanbaru agreed. I said I'd be right over and hung up. Depressed as she might be, it wouldn't take long for her, ever the optimist, to get back on her feet. If I didn't hurry, I'd miss my chance to witness her down in the dumps. Unlike Sengoku's house, Kanbaru's was kinda far. Speedy Kanbaru, with her under 5 seconds dash, or so-called accelerator device, could probably travel the distance in a flash, but my own legs, unfortunately, were plain average now that I was no longer a vampire. I'd swing by home to pick up the granny bike parked outside in the yard, but to avoid Tsukihi peppering me with questions, not go inside. While I used to have 2 bikes, one for going to school and one for private use, my mountain bike for private use had been wrecked in a certain accident. All I had left now was the granny bike that I used to ride to and from school. I didn't know when I was going to be able to buy a new bike. It's not that there wasn't a particular one I wanted, but I had a feeling that even if I did buy it, it'd get broken in no time. At any rate, I took off toward Kanbara's. I didn't have a second to waste. I was dying to see Miss Kanbara. I spotted something strange out of the corner of my eyes, however, that forced me to stop. A middle schooler dressed in a jersey was walking _Markwood teen upside down on her hands on the exterior wall of some residence. Her ponytail twitched back and forth as she moved. It was Karen Araragi. Handstands? She was still doing it, even after grade school. Was it to train her arms? Yikes. Hachikuji was right. Someone beyond a certain size doing a handstand outside of a gym felt so wrong. She strutted, not noticing me, and relying solely on her arm strength, Karen leapt from the wall she was on to the next-door neighbor's wall. Hiya! Sneaking up on my bike, I proceeded to lightly clothesline her across both elbows. Maybe I was her better when it came to our senses of balance. Karen lost hers, even though this was hardly a low kick to the face, and tumbled off the wall. I'd have loved to see her hit her head, frankly, but thanks to a martial artist's superior athleticism, she flipped over during the mere 3-foot fall and stuck a perfect landing. She landed facing me, so our eyes met.
Koyomi, I thought you were a hostel.
You have those?
Don't they say the moment a man steps outside his house, he is...
You're not a man, you're a little girl.
If a man has 7 enemies, then a girl has 7 times as many.
In Karen's case, that was probably true. Appalled, I said, "What are you doing anyways? How long are you going to keep training my sense of shame? It's all muscle at this point. You'd have to be Ranma Sautom to traipse about doing acrobatics at your age. Don't tell me you'd turn into a man if I splashed hot water on you."
Hi-ha! How convenient I'd only have 1/7 as many enemies to deal with. Actually, no, it'd be pretty boring.
What the hell, looking like that where people can see you? How tasteless can you be? Act a little more like a normal teenage girl. What if the neighbors start talking?
Huh? Am I just imagining things, or are we putting you aside here?
Not one bit. Besides, a handstand is one thing, but trying to travel that way is totally insane. Maybe you were light enough back in grade school, but how much do you weigh now? And really, I had nothing on my conscience.
Never ask a lady. Well, I stay as trim as I can, and if I make sure I don't put on too much muscle, my weight stays ladylike. If you ever spot a girl at the arcade playing Dance Dance Revolution upside down, know that it's your sister,
That girl would be no sister of mine.
says the guy who used to play air hockey by himself.
That was a long time ago. Anyway, what are you doing here?
Serving, volunteering.
Karen stood up and thrust out her chest. Her smug look was infuriating. Just the sight of it made me want to punch her. Idiot, don't be saying it in English like that, makes you smart. Just the other day, you thought Descartes had something to do with a la carte.
So what? They're both French.
True.
Anyway, why are you bothering me while we're out? We look so much alike, people will know we're related. You're embarrassing me.
It's not like I wanted to come up and talk to you. If you don't want me to, stop behaving in ways that force me to. To be precise, I didn't come up and talk to her so much as clothesline her. Still, it's perfect timing. There's something I need to ask you.
There's nothing I need you to ask me.
Hup. She tilted over into another handstand, and I shoved her legs back down the other way. She landed in an upside-down crab. Doing the crab out in public was also pretty strange, and it was steeply angled, almost grotesquely so. Karen's legs were way too long.
Hey, that was dangerous.
What's dangerous is, whatever you two are up to, tell me what you've been doing.
I've been serving society, like I said. It's got nothing to do with you, so why don't you butt out?
If it really doesn't, I'd be glad to. The charms, I doubted Sengoku would get mixed up in it again, and the actual issue in her case had come about by chance. Maybe I could just leave it alone. Getting swept up in my sister's hijinks only to be left holding the bag was the usual course of things. The royal road, so to speak.
We're not going to cause you trouble or anything. We're not stupid, all right?
She lifted her palms off the ground, using her head to hold her position, and gave me a double V sign with her free hands. And this was the girl telling me she wasn't stupid.
Koyomi, what do you take me for?
I don't know. What the hell are you?
The slayer of marching demons, Hell's own guard dog, Dicka Master.
Talk about badass. It was probably the first time a girl doing the crab with her head ever uttered those words.
Super cool, perfect.
She followed up with Dika Blue Ranger's signature line, apparently getting into it. There was nothing cool about the pose she was in, though.
I'm a girl on fire.
Then I hope you get incinerated. I had to hand it to her, though. Combining all those cool lines with a silly pose was a pretty good gag. I know I could never pull it off. Karen wasn't a musclehead for nothing.
I see. Then maybe I'll make this part of my regular routine.
While you're down there, why not try a few more? Anything's fine, just as long as it sounds cool.
If you want to pass, you're going to have to defeat me first.
Funnier than I expected.
How about the opposite? You go ill, hold the line?
Ha 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 ha. I burst out laughing. This was a rare treat. But, oops, I was playing with my sister and having fun, which wasn't my intention. Despite our banter, somehow I hadn't obtained a shred of the info I was after, but as for why she was loitering around here, I could guess without her help. Kiyokazi Public Middle School, which Senjogahara, Kanbaru, and also Hanakawa had attended, was located nearby. If Karen was investigating charms circulating among junior high kids, this was an important area in that search.
Hup!
Karen made a huge performance out of straightening out of her crab pose, purposely doing another handstand, balancing on her head before getting back up on her 2 feet. A natural-born performer she was. Or to put it another way, a regular attention hog.
Anyway, Koyomi, I'm kind of busy right now. I got a lot on my plate. If you want to talk, do it with both me and Tsukihi at home tonight. Can it wait until then?
Well, I was in a rush too. I wanted to get to Kanbaru's house as soon as possible. Not stand around wasting time on my sister's antics. I hadn't planned on talking to them until that night, anyways, and it's not like we could have a very serious discussion where we were. Should I really be leaving you alone?
Of course. The whole thing will be over soon anyways. No one can stand in our way, you know?
I hope someone sticks a knife in your kidney.
By the way, how was Tsukihi? She's still home, isn't she? Did you see her?
She was just watching TV. But who knows what she was doing at the moment? She promised she was going to mine the fort, but maybe she'd snuck out afterward as part of some Fire Sister scheme. Subtlety. Not her forte. As much as I hate to give my sister props, though, she flat out refuses to decorate her phone with straps and such, and I find that pretty manly and neat, even if she's a girl. Tsukihi's phone, on the other hand, is encrusted with that stuff. They hadn't owned phones when they entered middle school, but my parents, unable to buck the trend, or more likely, coming to the conclusion that Karen and Tsukihi not having a means of contact was the graver risk, decided to lift the ban just this summer vacation. My sisters were already pros with the devices. They really were good at everything. Meanwhile, I still didn't understand half of the functions.
Hello. Oh, yeah.
Ignoring the fact that her older brother was talking to her, Karen answered, turning her back to me as though to escape notice. She began speaking in a hushed tone. I couldn't quite hear what she was whispering. I couldn't even tell if it was some new intel related to her public service or a totally private conversation. Not that I was going to eavesdrop to find out. I'm not Tsukihi. Karen talked for about a minute before hanging up. Then she turned toward me. There was a hint of seriousness in her expression. It was a handsome look.
Okay, Koyomi.
Huh?
Everything's fine. The whole thing will be over soon.
Oh! I could only reply vaguely. I guess she'd received some new intel after all.
When we fill you in later tonight, it will be to regale you with our heroic deeds. Hi, ha, 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 ha.
Whatever. You're almost out of middle school and still walking around upside down. And that's what I learned to my great misfortune today.
That'll do. Hasta la vista.
Probably so. I wouldn't interrogate her anymore. She cut our conversation short and disappeared from sight. Incidentally, she did so by tumbling. She vanished, rolling away at a furious pace. What a nutty, breakneck move when she wasn't working with maths or anything. Her deal seemed entirely distinct from Kanbara's athleticism. While Kanbara was fast and had great reflexes, I doubted she could perform Karen's acrobatics with a straight face. In fact, Kanbara wouldn't attempt anything so risky in the first place. I suppose that was the difference between martial arts and competitive sports. Ah, right, Kanbaro. I had to get to her place, fast. Not quite pushing my sister out of mind, but tucking her in the back, I began pedaling again. 20 minutes later, I arrived at the samurai manor of a home where Kanbara lived, a trip that usually took me at least 30 minutes. If I hadn't run into Karen and wasted time, I could have been there 3 minutes sooner. Next to the nameplate was an intercom, which seemed out of place for a traditional house. When I pressed the button, it was Kanbaru's grandmother, the woman who'd just witnessed Kanbaru's disgrace or perversion, who answered. I'd been over plenty of times already to help clean and met Kanbaru's grandparents before, but if they knew it was me their granddaughter was talking to butt naked on the phone, I doubt Grandma Kanbaru would have let me through the door. Ma'am. Thank you for being such a good boy with Saruga. She bowed to me as she said this almost apologetically. Kanbaro, a star at school or not, was just a sweet, darling granddaughter to her, and nudity aside, the disastrous state of her ward's room couldn't have been a secret. She had to be worried about Kanbaro. Trusted her, perhaps, but also fretted. Still, as a high school senior, it was a little embarrassing to be called a boy by someone else's grandma. I left her behind and headed toward Kanbara's room. The sliding door was shut. I could picture her hugging her knees in a little ball in the corner. This was my chance to catch her by surprise, and my heart was racing as I flung the door open without knocking. Kanbaro was sprawled out on her futon without a single thread of clothing. Saruga Kanbaro, kinky girl in others' estimation as well as her own. Perhaps it was because she no longer had sports as an outlet that she was breaking her own record every day. Her sexual harassment was so rampant and excessive that Shinobu, Sengoku, and I, along with others, could file a class action lawsuit. And yet, believe it or not, this was the first time I'd ever seen her entirely naked. I don't know, since June, also due to quitting the basketball team, Kanbar was growing her hair out, which made her look a lot more feminine, so seeing her show off her bits like this. Wait, she was lying face down, but the line of her back was incredibly erotic. And those shoulder blades. Kanbar may have retired, she clearly hadn't been skimping on the training. Her toned, compact body was too beautiful. They speak of having legs like a gazelle, but Kanbara was all gazelle all over, a Grecian statue. Behold the beauty of the human form. I'd noticed Kanbara's stunningly chiseled legs, but it wasn't just her legs. Her whole body was a lethal weapon. You couldn't blame her for wanting to get naked. It'd be a shame not to let other people see. One caveat though, I said without a single thread, but the bandage around her left arm was still there. Style is in Sarda, but the bandage around her left arm is Sunday a sense rupping the day. K. Kanbaru. It looked like she'd used the last of her strength to close the sliding door, and then collapsed on the futon after her grandmother had seen her naked. I called to her, though I had no idea what to say.
Is it you?
She lifted her head up from where it was pressed into the pillow, and then, Don't turn over. There'll be trouble if you did. Mainly for me. I might start feeling all sorts of troubled.
have to forgive the state I'm in. It's so embarrassing being seen like this.
Right. Kanbaro nodded. Whoa. She was feeling embarrassed like a normal person. But she didn't try to cover up and just lay there, limbs stretched out languidly. The only thing she lifted was her face.
How odd, though. The Koyomi Araragi I know is a man of impeccable character who'd never barge into a lady's room without knocking.
I just wanted to see you looking devastated.
Sure, if this wretched vision satisfies you, then by all means gaze as much as you like. Don't be shy. Witness my true form, Saruga Kanbaro, laid bare.
No, you know what? I'm sorry. True, she was laid as bare as the day she was born. I didn't think she'd look this devastated, so swift. Heaven's vengeance, I'd never thought my prayer would be answered like this. I apologize, Kanbaru. Let me take responsibility.
Responsibility? What responsibility?
She repeated mechanically, turning to me a pair of dull, vacant eyes that resembled a dead fish's more than I ever imagined possible of her. I mean, I was the one you were talking to on the phone, so half of the blame for this situation falls on me. I wasn't about to tell her that I'd prayed for divine punishment.
I don't think so.
Even in her current state, her sense of personal accountability was undiminished. You had to hand it to her. The most impeccable human being I knew was Tsubasa Hanekawa by far, but maybe Kanbaro came in second?
Nevertheless, if you insist on taking responsibility, I won't stop you. How exactly do you plan on doing so?
I can marry you. Well, it's just the back half, but I've seen you naked.
I think you're skipping a few steps. By that logic, how many girls would you have to marry?
What are you implying? Scandalous. Not that it was entirely unfounded. Hey, she laughed. If only weakly she did laugh.
Well, that's a very attractive offer. There's no need for you to take responsibility. My other dear senior would be furious if we did such a thing. In exchange, can I ask you to do me a favor?
Yeah, you name it. I'm your loyal slave for the day.
Would you mind waiting out in the hall while I get dressed?
I couldn't help but laugh. A request from Kanbaru's mouth to be allowed to cover herself up. It was a sublime moment, like mankind standing erect and walking on two legs for the first time. I did as Kanbara asked and went out into the hallway while she got dressed. Ever the jock. It only took her a couple of minutes, so she put them on as fast as she took them off. Then I finally got down to the business of cleaning up her room. Commence mission! First I sorted the garbage into general piles, stuffed them into huge trash bags, and set the bags out in the yard. Only the clearly useless items were sorted into trash. Objects that were less obvious were set aside for later. Since this wasn't my room, it was ultimately up to Kanbar to decide what was necessary and what wasn't. Well, most of it would get thrown out. It was just being put on hold. Awaiting due process, you could say. Saruga Kanbare. She was actually well off, and actually profligate. She made senseless purchase after senseless purchase, and transformed it all into trash through some marvelous magic. In the end, nearly everything got thrown away. Of course, that was just the groundwork. The real tidying up still lay ahead. Kanbaro had gotten changed only to put on hot pants and a tube top, leaving her not much less exposed than before. No wonder she was so quick, jock or not. But at least she was presentable now. Considering the state of her room, maybe she ought to have chosen something a little more protective like a jersey, the default outfit for Karen. The funny thing, though, was that jerseys didn't suit Kanbaro. Was it because she wasn't very tall? She did look super cool when she dashed about in her school uniform. Maybe it caught my attention only because I was thinking about clothes, but I discovered what appeared to be a basketball uniform in one of the heaps of trash. The number on the back, 4. Was that the captain's number? My knowledge of basketball was limited to slam dunk, so I wasn't sure. Kanbara, what about this?
Oh.
By the way, she was standing out in the hallway. Despite her athleticism, Kanbaro has a very clumsy side. She's terrible at housework. Of course, given the state of her room, this bit of parenthetical explanation is probably unnecessary, and would only get in the way during the current cleanup phase. It was somewhat thrilling to be treating a star of Kanbaro's calibers like a liability, but it was a pretty low sentiment, so I kept it to myself.
My club uniform. So that's where it went. I was wondering.
Huh. You mean your practice uniform?
No, it's a souvenir from when we made it to the Nationals my first year. Turn it inside out. You can see all the messages my teammates wrote.
Is cherishing such memories a foreign concept for you?
I've got all the memories I need right here in my heart.
Great line, but they were here too, in physical form. It was such a sad story that I was reminded of Hachikuji and her amnesia. Even if I did make that one up. Back then you weren't captain yet, were you? I mean, you were still a freshman. How come it says 4 on the back?
There's no law saying only the captain can wear the number. It's conventional, but in my case, the captain let me have it for being the ace.
I like that. You had a big-hearted captain, but I don't remember this being here the last time I cleaned.
It was hanging on the wall of our club room to help light a fire under the new players' feet, but I brought it home right before summer vacation.
Huh.
I figured it was about time for me to move on from my glory days. I retired from the team after all. It just felt like I was throwing my weight around. Besides, the club doesn't have much of a future.
Even after quitting, Kambaru had still been focusing a lot on the team, but I guess this was her way of making a clean break. Maybe it was also a kind of penance for her. The club had stayed on her mind.
I took it off the wall without telling anyone, so it wound up becoming a police matter.
So that's why there was a patrol car at school our last day.
A perfect crime. No one knows I am the culprit yet.
But there's this piece of evidence. That said, she'd only brought home her own clothing, so it was no big deal. Still, given its background, we couldn't throw it away. Not because the police might find it, but because it was a memento. You know, I don't think I ever saw you play basketball except maybe once. Hey, why don't you try it on for me?
If you insist, my hair's longer now, so you probably won't get the full impression.
My request may have been a little insensitive since she'd already left the team, but Kambaru consented readily. She was always generous that way. It grew out super fast, by the way. When we first met, her hair had been cut a little shorter than mine even, but now there was no comparison. I had deep scars on the nape of my neck from where Shinobu had bitten me, so I kept my hair longer than normal to cover them up. But Kambaru's was so long she could tie it back.
You think?
Yeah, I've heard that hair usually grows about half an inch per month, but yours must have grown by 2 inches.
Probably because I'm such a kinky girl.
Just like that, as a statement of fact? I'd been thinking the same thing, but trying not to blurt it out.
In particular, I'm so kinky that for years I thought pepperoncino was a dirty word.
Even after you had some?
I also thought mobile family rape plans were family rape plans.
She really shut me up with that one.
Wait, no! I thought a family data plan was a family dating plan.
That's still a little too much family feeling.
And I used to think an exhibition game is where everyone plays naked.
That's not a misunderstanding, but a wish. Who thinks that in this day and age?
Indeed, I came here in a time machine from a world that's always 5 seconds ahead.
What a waste of a great invention.
And until recently, I thought bracelet had something to do with relaxing.
That's not even dirty. That's not even...
I shouted it out at a game once and made a fool of myself. I can't forget the look on my teammates' faces.
Stop! It's even worse with an example.
As bad as thinking a homemaker is a carpenter?
Help! Jeez, I bet I'll get along with you in our next lives, too. You also knocked off the Senjogahara impersonation.
Oh, you mean the bangs? I wasn't really trying to copy her. Then again, who knows? I can't be trusted after all.
She answered me absent-mindedly through the sleeves of the uniform as she slipped it on. That's not what I meant.
In any case, what's past is past. No need to be sensitive about it. Well, what do you think?
It was nice of her to put on the uniform for me, but since she was only wearing hot pants and a tube top, it looked like she was naked underneath. It was pretty sexy. There was nothing even remotely sporty about it. Not the Kanbaro I'd been meaning to see. Although the uniform suited her, what did that say in this instance?
This reminds me of back then.
Apparently unaware of the impression she was imparting, Kambaru smiled happily. Back then? You mean when you still played basketball?
No, the naked summer camp.
You're fully aware. And wasn't that supposed to be a joke? Don't be rehashing it. Who knows what wearing the uniform actually reminded her of, but I guess the feeling wasn't half bad because she didn't try to take it off right away. Not that I was complaining, it wouldn't interfere with cleaning up or anything. You know, Kanbaru, even if basketball is out of the question, Couldn't you still play other sports despite your left arm? What about soccer?
I don't think there's any sport where you never use your arms. For instance, with soccer, even if you're not the goalie, you still have to use your arms for throw-ins.
Ah,
Besides, I don't understand the offside rule.
as we spoke, I made another unexpected find in the same pile right under where the uniform had been. Not that it was a rare item these days, but I didn't expect to come across one in Kanbaru's room. I didn't know you had a digital camera, Kanbaru. It was the newest model too, from what I could tell. Ultra thin and ultra light.
Oh, I bought it just the other day.
Huh, it was a pretty high-tech purchase for someone who was such a klutz when it came to gadgets that she barely knew how to use her cell phone.
I know it's unlike me, but some photos you don't want to send out to get developed.
What kind of photos?
Self-nudes?
I did a pratfall into the nearest trash heap. After all the trouble I went to cleaning up. You bought it? Just for that? This piece of modern engineering is way too advanced for you.
It's not the only reason. I use it for other stuff too.
Like what?
Taking nude pics of all those freshman kitties.
She meant portraits of cats that first years kept as pets, right? Because cats went around naked, right?
I asked for permission first, of course, so there's nothing illegal about it.
Kanbaru, you're not making sense. How do you get a kitty's permission? You surely mean its owners?
I don't like that kind of language. It tramples on their dignity. But as for the owner, that would be me.
I sure love cats. The truth is, I don't. They scare me.
Understood. I'm afraid it would be a violation of privacy to show them to just anyone. But if you must, please take the memory card home. I'll take full responsibility.
I never said I wanted to see them.
No need to be shy.
Kanbaru received the digital camera from my hands. I was wondering where it had gone, she muttered. Usually, a digital camera wasn't the kind of thing you misplaced. Her ability to lose things was truly epic. Nisemonogatari, lose tail.
Since even Sengoku can't beat you when it comes to bashfulness, I've arranged a little surprise for you. Wait until school starts back up to find out what it might be.
Huh, a surprise?
I'll give you 2 hints. Freshman and breasts.
It sounded like something big was waiting for me next term. I was excited already. The next thing I spotted in the pile of trash was a manga. This cleaning session was starting to turn into a real treasure hunt. If she had the money for a digital camera though, why not buy a damn bookshelf? What I mistook for a comic book from the cover was actually a novel, The Bespectacled Secretary and the Bespectacled Prince. I could tell just from the title that it was a boy's love novel. This gets thrown away. What do you think? Burnable trash.
It might be fiery, but it's not for burning.
Kanbaru grabbed my arm as I reached for the garbage bag. When did she get so close? Maybe that uniform was a plus speed item?
Rotten or not, it's quite necessary.
It is? If it's so important to you, take better care of it. Don't you think you're being rude to the author? Said the guy who was about to throw it away. True. Once too many books started piling up, it was hard to know what to do with them. These type of books all look the same to me, though. Can you even tell them apart when you're reading them?
Of course I can. That's as narrow-minded as saying all SF is the same. If you aren't familiar with something, you can't tell the difference. It takes knowledge, erudition to form an accurate judgment.
Ah, still, in the end, they're all handsome, aren't they? There were several other BL novels in the pile, so I compared their covers to the one in my hand.
Huh?
Well, it's like you're into handsome men, after all. Maybe you're not really that perverted.
Narc?
Kanbaru reeled in genuine shock. If this were a cartoon, it would be more than vertical lines on her face. The background would have turned black and white. I guess she'd meant it. There was nothing worse you could say about her. Come to think of it, tons of girls read BL these days. It's proof that you're well-adjusted. It's normal, perfectly normal.
Normal? I, the self-appointed successor to Freud, am normal?
She'd appointed herself, well, her inclination to bring any and all subjects around to sex did qualify her, maybe. I mean, being into handsome men is run-of-the-mill for girls. Wanting to see a bunch of them together is natural. It's no different from being into boy bands.
Don't make such apt comparisons.
It's not like you love that old people smell, or are left cold if the guy doesn't weigh more than 350 pounds.
And no, but
Kanbaru was at a loss for words. She was acting suspicious.
Hold on a second. Don't say that. I'm finished if my dear senior sees me that way. I'll strip. I'll strip right here.
Now, like you said, what's so strange about getting comfortable at home, and you only get naked outside at a public bath? And self-nudes? Why wouldn't an athlete want to see how her body is coming along? I was wrong to get on your case.
I'm not asking for an apology. Please, just stop and listen to me.
Well, take today. You're not much of an exhibitionist if your family seeing you naked gets you down. I'd assumed, listening to you, that maybe you never wore anything, ever, at home. Let me just say that you're striking me as a big fish in a pond called your own little room. As you put it on the phone earlier, maybe I have the dirtier mind.
God.
Kanbaru's eyes spun around. She seemed totally panicked. Araragi casts Kafuddle.
You've got it wrong. There just happen to be books like that where you were looking, but dig deeper and you'll find hardcore BL. Like, I don't know that BL isn't all about handsome men. Please, keep searching.
Now, Kanbaru, it's not the real you if you've got to search. As I uttered what sounded like an admonition against the tired notion of self-discovery, Kanbaru tackled me down. Worse, we landed on top of the futon.
In that case, I'll have to clear my name through deeds.
Even apart from her left arm, Kanbaru was too strong for me. She was better built than I was. She had me pinned tight from hip to shoulder, and I couldn't move.
Prepare yourself.
Prepare for what?
It's not like you haven't been deflowered already.
That's because I'm a boy.
Don't worry, it only hurts in the beginning. Soon it'll start feeling good.
Eeh.
You got a fine body, my kind of muscles. So nice to the touch.
Eek, 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 eek.
Tut! Stop squirming so much. I can't get off your underpants.
I swore, no matter how high I was feeling when I ran into Hachikuji, I wouldn't sexually harass her the first thing, ever again. Activate skill. New chapter, reset. Nothing to see here. Move along. We're getting there. Kanbaru's 12-mat room was now straightened up enough that it was starting to actually look large. All that was left to do was to return the things she'd left, lying around to their original location. It was still too early to relax, but the end was at least in sight. The perennially unmade futon was being aired out in the yard. Additionally, the clothes, including underwear, she'd left scattered around her room after taking them off, were tumbling in the washer. Want to take a break?
Good idea.
Kanbaru plopped herself down on the floor. She'd already taken the uniform off, by the way.
Should I go make some tea?
No thanks. I'm not really that exhausted anyways. I just thought a breather was in order.
Your cleaning skills really are breathtaking. Maybe I always get this room so messy because I want to see them in action.
That's annoying. Mend your ways.
You'll make somebody a great wife one day.
No, thank you. The truth is I wasn't particularly good at cleaning up, but with a room as untidy as Kanbaru's, anybody's cleaning skills would seem impressive. It was all about the initial state.
I wouldn't mind making you my wife.
Well, I don't think I want you as my husband.
I thought you were going to marry me?
Maybe if the roles were reversed. Either way, Senjogahara would kill you. Heck, she'd probably kill me too.
At any rate, you and she make a lovely couple. But I can't help but feel that in the end you'll wind up married to Hanakawa.
Don't say that.
And then I'll be your mistress. Maybe Sengoku will be Lady No? 3?
What an unpleasant image of the future. Even though it seemed impossible, a chill ran down my spine anyway. Plus, the odds were probably on Hachikuji, the horrifying Araragi harem. See, come on. Eventually I'll marry Senjogahara.
What a pie-in-the-sky proposal, but saying it to me. How am I supposed to respond? But the truth is, I bet you can't refuse if I got serious.
As she spoke, her expression was that of a black Kanbaru, whom I believed had surfaced after she started hanging out with Senjogahara again. About marriage?
No, about an extramarital affair.
I'd refuse, probably, though maybe not absolutely.
All I'm saying is that your kindness makes it easy for girls to take advantage of you, so you should be careful. For now, I don't mean anything by it. I like the way our friendship is and have no desire to wreck it, but if you ever did anything to hurt her, then I just might.
No one had tried harder to wreck my relationship with Senjogahara than Kanbaro. What was she? An enemy from the first few episodes. The kind that immediately becomes a friend. Actually, come to think of it, if I got married to Hanekawa, she'd get killed by Senjogahara too. I wouldn't like that. Haven't I told you? There's no one in the world I owe more to than Hanekawa.
Her? No. Given their relationship, I don't think you need to worry.
Oh, why is that?
They have their own thing going. Not that I'm happy about it, but they seem to be satisfied, so it's hardly my place to butt in.
Huh? What was that supposed to mean? Well, whatever. By the way, Kanbari, while we're taking a break, how about we try this? I set down a deck of Hanafuda cards that I'd picked out of the trash and kept, thinking we might play later. It was probably the only spoils of today's treasure hunt. I'd pretended not see the Washizu Mahjong set sitting in the Yet. Kanbaro tilted her head as she took the deck from me.
What's this? Some kind of card game?
Well, yeah, sort of. But why would you not know when they were in your room?
Oh, Hanafuda, I forgot about these.
Kanbaro opened up the case, removed the cards, and shuffled through them.
I don't know the rules. I saw it in a department store and just bought it on a whim. I looked at the pictures once and never opened the case again.
Ah, really? I guess I'm out of luck then. It's been a while, so I felt like playing. I don't know, somewhere along the line, Hanafuda had become a minor game. Maybe the most minor card game in the world. Beat out by Uno, even it was older than the game of life, so maybe that was that.
You aren't out of luck, just teach me. Believe it or not, I'm good at learning the rules for
Are you sure the rules for Hanafuda are pretty complicated?
No problem. Don't lump me in with buffoons who think double dribbling is when you dribble with two balls.
Sorry, I used to be that buffoon. In any case, Kanbaro had pretty good grades. I guess it was worth a shot. It was just the two of us, so the Koi Koi variant seemed like the best choice. There are a dozen suits of 4 cards each pine. Plum, cherry, wisteria, iris, peony, clover, eulalia, chrysanthemum, maple, willow, and paulownia, but it's probably easier to remember them by the pictures. I offered a quick explanation and then we settled down into a game. With stuff like this, you could explain as much as you like, but in the end you had to learn by doing. Once you got the basic combos down, the best way was just to get started.
My senior Araragi, where did you master this pastime?
I think it was at my grandma's house. There's something nice about the way the cards feel, and it's cute how small they are. But I don't have anyone to play with these days.
Right, you have so few friends. Sorry for making you say that.
No, that's not what I meant. No one knows the rules, that's all. Well, it's true that I don't have many friends.
Apart from girls, the number is actually 0, isn't it?
Damn, that's harsh.
And now, with Mr. Oshino gone, who am I gonna picture you with when I fantasize? The prospects don't look good.
If you're going to fantasize about that, I'm fine having 0 male friends. We started with a 10-round bout. It was a practice game with commentary. By the time I, who knew the rules, easily won all 10, Kanbari seemed to have a clear grasp of them too. You take a look at the 8 cards in your hand and consider what combos you can make. Once the game begins, you don't focus on just your own hand, but actively block your opponent from forming combos. It doesn't matter how good yours are if you're too late when you've figured out that much. You've become a real player.
Ha! How about a real match, then? This is starting to get fun. Decide who goes first by drawing a card. It even specifies refrain from rock, paper, scissors, or using dice. So old school.
Isn't it? In that regard, it rivaled Hyakunin Ishu, the game of 100 poems. Of course, that one was pretty minor as well. Plenty of people would probably throw their hands up in defeat if they had to play it by the official rules. Musume Fusahos, anyone?
I'm bad at rock, paper, scissors, so I for one am glad.
You can be bad at it?
You'd be surprised.
It was a sort of match after all. Maybe she was right. We drew cards. Kanbari got a December and me a September, meaning I'd go first. In Koi Koi though, whoever went first generally had the advantage, so I decided to let the beginner start. I wondered if Kanbari might not like such a handicap, but perhaps seeing it as fair sportsmanship, she accepted my offer without ado, saying,
You're sisters.
"Huh?
You're sisters. Even if you don't have friends, if I recall correctly, you have two little sisters. Don't you ever play Hanafuda with them. From what you said, it sounded like everyone in your family might know how to play.
I have a few times, with the younger one, but when we went to Grandma's, the older sister preferred to run around in the fields. In any case, we don't play like this anymore.
I guess that's just how it goes.
I'm sure there are brothers and sisters who do, but we aren't that close. Besides, they were busy. Busy playing at Defenders of Justice.
I'm an only child. I don't really know what it's like to have a sister.
It sucks, I'll tell you that much.
Maybe an older brother. My life might have been different if I had one, and of course I do think of you in that way.
I'm honored.
May I try calling you like you were really my brother?
As long as you keep it normal.
Big Brother Koyomi.
Shit. Oh, shit. Maybe she was just imitating Sengoku, but it had a bigger impact than I expected. Saying it straightforwardly, with no funny business, earned her a lot of points.
Big Brother Koyomi, it's morning! Wake up!
Ack?
Big Brother, you're gonna be late. Hurry!
Wow.
Big Brother, you're such a meanie!
I'm tingling all over.
Big Brother, would you like to have sexual...
And we're done. Out of bounds. That was close, she nearly got me. I guess it applied to Sengoku too, but it sounded nice and fresh because she wasn't actually my sister. That seemed to be a big part of it. Besides, being her senior was one thing. But would I make such a great big brother for Kanbaro? Heck, that was true about being her dear senior too. Okay, here we go. The game began. This time we were keeping score. To make it interesting, we placed a little bet it wouldn't be wholesome for high school kids to gamble, so we decided that whoever lost overall would have to do a dare. A dare. Well, depending on what, it might end up not being so wholesome. Worst case, betting money would be healthier. I'm trusting you, Kanbaru, and I don't mean that as a setup. And so, 10 more rounds. This time, it wasn't a practice game, but I still won all 10. Saruga Kanbaru. She may have been quick to learn the rules, but, man, was she weak? What was up with her? How could anyone be so unlucky? I could see why she might be bad at rock, paper, scissors. It wasn't classy, but when I felt curious afterwards and did a quick count, almost all of her hand consisted of playing cards. On top of that, she'd been dealt planes of the same suit. 3 December ones in your hand. Kiss goodbye to any strategy. Right, and when we were deciding who'd go first, she promptly pulled a December. I had some experience, but it had been so long that I figured a beginner like Kanbaru would make for a good match. I was fairly stunned that it turned out so one-sided. Not so much as a single tie. I didn't remember for sure. But didn't the rule structure mean a significant chance of tied rounds? Well, fine. Since it was ultimately a game of luck, there were bound to be days like these. If we played again tomorrow, it might be me in Kanbaru's position. Was she born under an unlucky star? Was more misfortune and heartache waiting in her future? No, I certainly thought no such thing, yet. Kanbaru had grown extensively silent. Who does for 6 whole lines of ellipses? The look in her eyes wasn't the Kanbar I knew either. Well, she tended to look dapper, but with her hair growing out she seemed more feminine, making the distance in her eyes downright frightening. Her cheeks were slightly puffed out, which was cute, but she did appear sullen. The set of her mouth also seemed pretty tense. Some people couldn't help sulking when they lost, no matter at what. So Kanbaru was Exhibit A. Wow, she felt sore? She could be surprisingly childish at times. Should we get back to cleaning up? Maybe we've been playing too long.
Oh, whoa, look who's trying to cut and run. I shouldn't have to tell you, but I hold you in the highest esteem.
Oh, okay.
Indeed, my devotion to you is almost religious. When I call your name, my lips might say my senior Araragi, but my heart is saying my savior Araragi.
I wish it didn't.
This is rather craven of such a man, isn't it? You disappoint me. How crass to try to cut and run. Are you afraid of losing to me?
Actually, I just don't want to win anymore. Kanbaru, however, refused to let me get up and demanded that I deal the cards once again. I wondered if this was how a gambler behaved on a losing streak, but I'd never thought Kanbaru was the type to care so much about winning. Well, I suppose she wouldn't have made it to the nationals otherwise. If you didn't mind losing at all, you were, in a sense, sick. But hating to lose only when you couldn't win was just the worst.
What is this? The game isn't over yet. Are you trying to make a fool of me by quitting before we're done? It says right here in the rules a game lasts 12 rounds. That means we still have 2 more hands to play. Why don't you wait until you've actually won to start congratulating yourself?
With the lead I've got, there's no way 2 rounds will be… never mind. Kanbaru glared at me so hard that I fell silent. What else could I do? We both sat in silence as I finished dealing out 8 cards each. I started by rearranging mine so they'd be easier to play. I still had to be friends with Kanbaru after we were done. Even if it was too late to lose the game, I could let her win the last 2 rounds and feel better about herself. Yet, it was up to luck in the end, so losing on purpose was easier said than done. I could play as poorly as I liked, but if my opponent didn't form combos, then there was nothing I could do. How to go about this?
What are you waiting for? You're first.
I've got a same 4. Sorry. I had all 4 Willow cards, making it Teshi or same 4. It was a special combo based on the cards in your hand upon dealing. It's, worth 6 points. Kanbaru silently entered them on the chart we'd created on her cell phone. There was no sadistic rule that the loser of a round had to keep track. She just happened to volunteer to be the scorer at the outset, and just happened to be losing every round. Let's see. I was winning by about 50 points? Now, that was a rare hand. How about we end on that note?
Wait, you piece of NIK. There's still 1 more round left.
She'd nearly cussed me out but cut herself off. She had great self-control but was exerting it for a pretty shabby reason. Hey, it's only a card game. Relax. Bracelet. We're just playing.
How do you win with an attitude like that?
I'm winning, though.
Irk!
It's a game. So can't you at least try to enjoy it? Take Sengoku. She taught me how to play Twister, and she seemed to be having fun even though she lost to a beginner like me.
So you don't know. You've yet to encounter the true final boss.
Huh? What?
Nothing. It's not for me to say.
Next, Kanbaru leaned over. I dealt, despite myself. Geez, she was the type to build a fortune in sports and ruin herself at the gambling table? Oops. I glanced down at the cards in my hand and my eyes widened. Kanbari,
What is it?
let's decide our dares in advance.
Well, aren't you eager? As for mine, it'll be my sexual demands, sexual commands!
Really? You could dare me to drop dead if you like. I countered Kanbaru's entirely unwholesome remark with a dare that couldn't be more wholesome. Don't ever get into gambling. I'd been dealt another special hand. This time it was a full 8. Don't worry, we're almost at the core part of the story. After we were done with Hanafuda and cleaning up, I took my leave. It was nearly evening by that point. Kanbaru's grandmother invited me to stay for dinner, like she always did. I'd accepted her offer a few times before. Her cooking was amazing, but that day I politely refused. By the way, while we were cleaning up, I asked Kanbaru about something that was bothering me, namely, how she explained to her family what was up with her arm.
I pass it off as an injury. It's not really the kind of thing I can explain.
And they buy it. It's not like my vampirism. All they need to do is look at your arm. Kanbaru's left arm, possessed by an aberration, was monstrous in form. With Senjagahara, her father knew because there wasn't any way for her to hide it.
My grandpa and grandma are worried, of course, but that business about my mother always stands between us. They'd never intrude where I don't want them to.
So it went. Her mother, right, Kanbaru's monkey left arm was originally a memento from her mother, even if her grandparents weren't aware of that fact. If they had any inkling that it was somehow related, they probably wouldn't want to tread there. Unless they knew everything and were just pretending not to, that was certainly a possibility. Either way, I suppose it was tough for Kanbari. Putting aside her mother, Kanbar looked up to her grandparents. For someone as honest as her, I doubted it was easy having to keep a secret from them. But that responsibility, too, fell on Saruga Kanbari.
In any case, I only have to put up with it for a few more years.
Yes, Kanbaru's arm would return to normal then. Unlike my vampirism, she wouldn't have to cope with it for the rest of her life. I was sure she'd get through it, being who she was. I thought so as I stared down at my own shadow, elongated in the twilight. Anyway, when I got on my bike and rode through the august wooden gate of her house, I noticed a man loitering right outside. At first glance I thought I recognized him, but he was no acquaintance. I didn't even have to consult my memory. He was in his late middle age and dressed in a sable black suit with a jet black tie, as if he'd just left a funeral and was in mourning. He was so obviously suspicious, and though it's a vague way to put it, he gave off the definite air of being a character. A character. The real deal, or some fake? That, I couldn't decide just from looking. He clearly seemed out of place in our town, or maybe the opposite considering all that I've gone through lately, the exact kind of person you'd expect to find. Yes, in a nutshell, dubious, an ominous man, and he was staring up at Kanbar's house.
Do you live here, kid?
Given the distance, I couldn't observe him unilaterally, of course, and the man in mourning spoke to me thus as I exited the premises. His line made me wonder if he might be a salesman, but his appearance denied it. Why would one choose such baleful clothes? I wouldn't buy a cup of coffee from such a dismal character. No, I don't live here.
Ah, my apologies. I neglected to introduce myself. You are wise to be cautious with a stranger such as myself. Treasure that wariness. My name is Kaiki.
Kaiki? It sounded like a word for the bizarre and mysterious, but that couldn't be it.
Right. Kai as in Kaizuka. Shell heap. Ki as in Kareki. Withered tree.
His expression unchanging, his attitude oddly knowing yet moody. The man in mourning, Keiki cast me a sidelong glance. His black hair was stiff with pomade. There was an artificial smell about him. I couldn't shake the feeling that I knew the man. Whom did he resemble? If he did, then whom? I'm Araragi, written with the characters for B. Day. Araragi. The last three were easy enough, but the first was hard to explain, though not to write.
Don't trouble yourself. That's a name I happened to hear very recently. The last character is also tree. Yes, while I'm withered, I suppose you're a sapling.
Did he simply mean our age difference? His speech seemed awfully roundabout. Well, not exactly roundabout, but almost like he was purposely talking in a way that only he understood. If you have some business with the Canberra household?
You're polite for a young person these days, and you're considerate. Interesting. Nonetheless, your consideration is wasted on me. I have no particular business with this household. I'd heard mention that the Gain woman's legacy resides here. Not that I had a particular course of action in mind. I simply wanted to witness the place for myself.
Gain? Wasn't that Kanbari's mother's maiden name? If so, was Gain's legacy Saruga Kanbari? Is that why he asked if I live here? But that could mean he'd visited without even knowing whether Kanbari was a boy or a girl.
It seems I've wasted my time, however. The aura is almost undetectable. Perhaps a third of what it was. Under the circumstances, I don't see the harm in leaving this alone. In fact, I have to. There's no money in it, unfortunately. This case's lesson for me is that the truth is sometimes trivial even when it is as one thought.
And on that note, not so much done with his business, but as if he had no business at all, he turned on his heel and walked away from Kanbaro's home briskly, at an alarming speed despite being on foot. As for me, in contrast, I could only remain rooted in place. Not that I didn't want to move. It was more like I was reluctant to make my next move, whatever it might be. Only after Keiki vanished did I remember. Or, rather than remember, I made an association. With that unpleasant aloha shirt-wearing man. It was Mime Oshino, who came to my mind. Aberration expert Mime Oshino, a man who'd resided in our town for a few months and left it behind. But he wasn't like that slacker Oshino at all, if I had to say. If I had to say, I could think of one other person. His accursed figure rose up in the back of my mind. The man whom Keiki resembled was that fanatic Guillotine Cutter. It was a name I didn't care to remember, nor one I should ever forget. Well, Oshino and Guillotine Cutter were about as different as night and day. Two, they shared almost nothing in common, Keiki included. In fact, it was almost weird that he reminded me of both Oshino and Guillotine Cutter. Should I follow him? Follow him and speak to him some more? I started working the pedals, but the handle turned in the exact opposite direction. It was like my mouth had said one thing and my heart another. It felt like watching someone else inside my body, but I was definitely pedaling of my own volition and was running away. It was just a hunch, but that guy seemed like bad news. Those more than that, he just seemed ominous, like an ill-omened sinister. In any case, I'm going in the wrong direction. I was done cleaning Kanbara's room, and planned to head straight home, but the way I was facing would take me on a long detour. There was nowhere for me to stop by. Even the bookstore was in the opposite direction. But hey, why not treat myself to a little bike ride? Maybe I needed to tell Kambaro about the guy? Judging from his final resigned remark, he probably wouldn't be coming around again, and maybe a half-baked suspicious person report would only make her anxious. Still, it was better not to take chances, just in case. Kambaro was a girl, after all. She looked at a lot more these days, too. There, settled. I'd call as soon as I got home. I was standing on the pedals and coaxing my bike up a hill when I spotted someone else walking down the slope my way. Her skirt was cut long enough to reach her ankles. She was wearing a long-sleeved summer sweater, and her hair was tied back at the nape of her neck. Her face was as expressionless as cast iron, but also looked supremely vexed. Of course, there's no need to describe her in such detail. Hitagi Senjogahara, my girlfriend. I'm running into everyone I know today. Was this the final episode or something? Hachikuji sightings were coincidences, and it was also by chance that I thought of visiting Sengoku and Kanbara, and now, lo and behold, here was Senjogahara. What was up with today? Was Hanakawa canceling at the last minute such a major event that so many encounters were required to compensate for it? If so, she had some serious presence. But I almost looked like some guy who went hopping about from one woman to another, which was hardly commendable. Hey, Senjogahara! Since it didn't seem like she'd noticed me, I called out her name and waved my hand wildly. Her gaze was the worst, but her vision was quite good. She must have heard me because she raised her head and glanced in my direction, before simply turning a corner and disappearing from sight. Whoa. Hey. You're seriously hurting my feelings. I pedaled past her, pulled into her path, and blocked her way. She gave me such an icy stare that I felt the chill deep in my bones. Anyone who could produce such a blast of cold without chanting out loud had to be a high-tier wizard. Come on, Senjogahara.
I don't know any guy who'd be goofing off here when he should be studying.
Oh, you don't understand.
Silence. I understand just fine. In fact, I overstand. Skipping one of my lessons is one thing, but Hanekawa's? That's just sad. I'm disappointed in you. No, I take that back. I never had enough faith in you to begin with.
No, Hanakawa was busy, so she gave me the day off.
Pathetic. I'm tired of hearing your excuses.
Actually, I didn't think I made a lot of them when it came to studying.
In the end, you're not a man of your word. My greatest shame in life is to have had my heart stolen by trash like you.
Jeez, watch it. If I were anyone else, I'd be tempted to go jump off a bridge.
Worm.
Spat Senjogahara, thrusting her chin up like she really looked down on me. She turned her back toward my bicycle and returned to the sloping path. She'd only walked into the alley to avoid me. It wasn't like I could just let her go, so I chased after her. Miss Gahara.
What's your Araragi?
Would you mind not making my name sound like Okinawa slang? My name is Araragi, and besides, that's Hachikuji's gag.
Sorry. A slip of the tongue.
No, it was on purpose.
A slip of the hope you break your neck.
It was on purpose. She didn't even turn around. She was really cross. Honestly, I don't think she doubted that Hanakawa had canceled our lesson. It was just that after such a show of anger, she had trouble dialing it back. She was difficult that way. When Tsukihi worked herself into a hysteria, it abated just as quickly. With Senjogahara, it was more deeply ingrained. You know, Senjogahara.
Some weirdo is following me.
Who are you calling a weirdo?
Oh, a weird midget is following me.
Did you just call me a midget? Damn, they'll figure out how short I am. After all the trouble I went to fudge it.
Who cares? When they make the anime adaptation, everyone is gonna see that you're shorter than me.
I'm against an anime. What if they ruin the original? Well, it was only by a fraction of an inch, but Senjogahara was telling the truth. Which is to say that she was tall for a girl. Though not as much as Karen. Does everything have to be adapted? They act like any book would sell if it just said now an anime on the cover, and I, for one, abhor the trend. Living in such an age, I'd love to see an original anime that's not based on anything. I hadn't been so upset in a long time. All you tall guys out there would never understand what it's like to quietly opt for thick soles every time you buy shoes.
Maybe your concern is misplaced. In the anime version, they'll just cut your character.
The protagonist?
Yes. If this were Galaxy Angel, you'd be tapped mayors.
No, I demand better treatment.
I guess if you'd be fine with a role like Chitos Torimaru's.
If that's how it's going to be, I'd rather not be included at all. Can't I at least be Normid?
Oh? I didn't know you were so intrigued by the mystery of cord beef cans.
That's not what I meant. Did she have any sort of authority? What was she, a diva who had control over all the casting decisions, too? Dreadful.
Now, Araragi, stop caterwauling. When God closes a door, he also breaks a window.
Is that supposed to be an upside?
Don't worry. You may be out, but they've added a fancy mascot to replace you.
Clearly a merchandising ploy.
Besides, you're not the protagonist. Just who do you think you are?
Right. I forgot. I was just the MC.
You're not the lead, you just belong on one.
What an attribute. Senjoga was walking fast, but I was on my bike, so I had no trouble keeping up. I thought about pulling around in front again, but instead of going that far, I just trailed close behind her. Fine, if I don't need to show my face, that's okay. You'll be dancing with a blank expression during the ending song while I watch from outside the screen.
Huh? You won't catch me dancing.
Super cool, Miss Hitagi.
I'll be the one watching everyone dance. And after they're done, during the last splash card, I say, no dancing in the station.
Heck, I know that's from a commercial for Georgia Coffee, but how many people nowadays would get that reference?
It'll be such a letdown if they go for a dance ending after all this build-up.
There's no pleasing you? Talk about greedy. She wasn't building as much as boarding things up. Gosh, I really don't get you sometimes. Scratch that, I get you plenty.
Are you insinuating that you have a problem with the conduct of Hitagi Senjogahara, aka an outpouring of nature-friendly toxic gas?
That's terrible catch copy?
Maybe unnaturally friendly would be better.
Better for whom? And since when was she friendly, naturally or otherwise?
Just don't get me wrong. I actually hate human scum like you, Araragi.
Are you sure you aren't just abusing your tsundere label and bearing your soul?
They say a woman finds happiness not by being with the man she loves, but by being with the man no one loves.
That's not quite how that expression goes. And a man no one loves? How would she know?
I was joking.
Well, as long as you're joking.
You're oh so beloved, and popular with the ladies.
Sarcasm? An allusion to the non-existent Araragi harem? Huh. Hummed Senjogahara fondly and without feeling. She extended one arm toward my head and proceeded to seize my skull in an iron grip. Drawing her expressionless face close, she gazed into my eyes. Glao war. She even mouthed a sound effect. Then she said,
3. No. 5.
What? What?
The number of girls you've played with today.
Since when did she have ESP? But Hachikuji Sengoku Kanbaru 3 was correct. Oh, and she was including Tsukihi and Karen.
If we're being strict, 6.
Apparently, Kanbaru's grandma counted too. That wasn't being strict, that was draconian.
On the basis of that estimate, I repeat, you're oh so beloved and popular with the ladies.
Your blank expression scares me, okay? Were her pupils dilated or what? Senjogahara finally released her iron claw and before I could blink, thrust the same hand into my mouth. All 4 fingers, minus the thumb, deep into my oral cavity.
Relax, Araragi. Believe it or not, I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to two-timing.
I am not two-thyming. The most I do is the two-stroke. I couldn't even remember how to spell correctly. I meant to say something clever, but it was a fail.
Yes, you're forever swimming the two-stroke, trying not to drown in a sea of love.
Don't steal my joke. I didn't need any help, but the shock did fix my spelling.
Maybe it's a swimming pool rather than a sea? As in, pooling your women?
You're overthinking it now. I'd never use the word in that context. What a tutoring session.
But the truth is that you're surrounded by girls.
Really? I don't think so.
Yet all the names in your contacts list are girls.
Don't go poking around in people's phones without permission. Come to think of it, Kanbaru had said something similar. Was it some sort of consensus? That was too sad.
I guess it can't be helped, though. Your very characterization is that you're kind to girls but cold to guys.
Stop it. Don't spout nonsense that will demolish my reputation. This was slander. Pure libel.
I bet if a guy were in trouble, Araragi, you'd tell him. Man, that's rough. I hope it works out for you. And just head on home.
Hearsay and disparagement.
And if the guy actually begged for help, you'd tell him, I think I'll pass.
I wouldn't pass.
Believe it or not, I'm open-minded when it comes to two-timing.
Terrifyingly enough, before I could be cleared of her calumny, she simply repeated herself to set our conversation back on track. What was she trying to do to my image? What if people believed it?
So, you're free to mess around with whomever you like, however you like, but if your two-timing ever gets even a little serious, you're dead.
Good grief. It didn't sound like she was kidding. Not one bit. I understood how serious she was being. I didn't as to why.
Don't worry. I'll at least give you the time to write your last will and testament.
That's not what's bothering me.
Welcome to Hitagi's Countdown Corner. 4 seconds remaining.
I'm supposed to write 1 in 4 seconds?
It's quite standard.
Your standards are too harsh.
Rest easy, Araragi. You won't die alone, the girl will follow after you.
Do all this dying yourself, okay?
I'll also dispatch Kanbaro to make sure you're not lonely in the afterlife.
What do you take her for?
A pliant junior?
That's just cruel.
A human offering to Koyomi Araragi, then.
She'll get sacrificed?
Why not? The learned term is Haito Magoku, which rhymes with Son Goku, the Monkey King. So perfect for Kanbaro, who's a monkey.
You know it's just her left arm that's a monkey paw, right?
I'm kidding. She's dear to me. Besides, I don't actually believe there's an afterlife.
I see. Well, she didn't have to tell me. I didn't suppose she would.
I just want you to know, Araragi, what dating me entails.
I do. In any case, I'm not going to cheat.
Is that so? Then we're fine. As long as you remember whose man you are, I'm good. In my own way, I put some serious effort into being your girlfriend if possible. I'd like to see you do the same.
Effort. When was it? Hadn't Hachikuji touched on this? Staying in love as a matter of effort. And how that wasn't insincere but rooted in good faith. I try too. I've never once forgotten whose man I am.
Is that so?
My words elicited another curt nod from her. That was all. Apparently, that was enough for her.
By the way, Araragi, there's one last thing I want to state for the record.
Yeah?
As a girl, it's quite gratifying to have a boyfriend who's popular with the ladies.
Keep that to yourself. Even now, Senjogahara's expression was as stiff as a board. She had unbelievable control over her facial muscles. In any case, it seemed like the topic was closed, so I asked her, "Were you headed somewhere?"
I'm just on my way home after doing some shopping. Can't you tell by looking? This is what I hate about invertebrates.
I do have a developed nervous system, thank you very much. Besides, how could I tell just by looking? It's not like she was carrying any shopping bags. Come on, get on the back. I'll take you home.
The back?
Of my bike.
You mean that mechanical beast.
Where were you raised again?
I'll pass. My skirt would get stuck in the wheels. Or is this a subtle demand that I remove it in public?
True. In addition to being long, reaching down to her ankles, her skirt was also puffy and flowing. Nope. Speaking of which, she basically only wore long skirts, whether it was her school uniform or everyday clothes. When she went for something shorter, like a pair of culottes, she always paired them with stockings. She refused to expose her bare legs. I guess you could say she was being chaste? Sure. Given what she'd been through, it was understandable. But still. Araragi. Having released enough vitriol, and feeling sated for the moment, I suppose, Senjogahara was ready to introduce a different topic. Her tone was still flat and cold, but it always was, whether she was angry or not.
Putting aside preparing for entrance exams, the culture festival is over and it's summer vacation. Don't you feel like high school will be over any day now?
I guess you're right. At least I'll be able to clear the attendance requirement. I probably won't have to repeat the year. The truth is, I'd been so focused on studying that I hadn't really thought about it, but now that she mentioned it, graduation was just around the corner.
Too bad, that would have been funny.
Don't see the humor in it.
Forgoing such a juicy gag after so many years on air.
We're in high school, not on a variety show.
When I go over my high school memories, the high point was Araragi.
You only got into it in high school? Eraser hockey equals eraser desk hockey. In case you were wondering.
You insult me, Araragi. In case you didn't know, I was the eraser hockey queen.
And the title isn't insulting for a high school girl?
I practiced alone for hours after school, and my technique can't be beat.
Please, that's so depressing.
Of course, I didn't have anyone to play with, so I never had a real match.
Any more and I might start crying.
Watch how you speak to me. Otherwise, I'll go on a violent crime spree and confess that I was influenced by your favorite manga.
Now you're taking manga artists hostage?
Eraser hockey aside, I can't help but feel a little sad that once we graduate, the phrase seating change will never sound so exciting again.
Is that all high school meant to you? Not that I couldn't understand. More than 2/3 of Senjogahara's own experience of it was characterized by nothing, literally. Nothing at all to remember in the first place. It was so light that a mere breath could blow it away. In fact, I can't picture you getting excited over changing seats.
True. Even if my seat changes, I remain the same.
As deep as it sounded, she was simply stating the obvious. That's precisely how you've changed, Senjogahara. But that went without saying.
First we graduate, then college. That is, if you get in.
Save the commentary.
Then we graduate from college and become adults.
Adults?
What do you suppose the difference is between an adult and a kid?
I don't think she actually expected an answer. She seemed to be in thinking out loud mode. Who knows? I can't say I've never thought about it before, but it's the kind of question you can think about until the cows come home and still never answer.
Here's what I think. Children watch the movie version of Musicard of the Valley of the Wind, and adults read the manga.
But you sounded so serious.
Which means I'm already an adult.
And I'm still a kid. Huh. Right, Senjogahara did do a lot of reading. Novels, comics, business books. You'll read pretty much anything, huh?
Yes. The only thing I don't is the room.
That's some important reading you're forgetting.
I'm positively dyslexic, Bear. I read between the lines but skipped the lines.
Or just scan the footnotes, she added. Talk about a complicated joke. The footnotes do a mood.
I might not be able to read the room, but I can place a pretty good chill over one.
Humanity has no use for your talent.
In the manga version of Musicad, Kushana turns out to be a surprisingly good person. I thought we were cut from the same cloth, but it turns out we'd be enemies after all.
I doubt either version of Kushana would want an ally like you.
Araragi, it's about time you stopped relying on the Friday night movie slot, and became an adult too.
You're recommending manga to a guy who's studying for entrance exams?
Don't be stupid. There are far more important things in this world than some test.
Yes, but she'd lose her top if I tried to tell her that.
Finding out that the famous line, "It's rotten, it was too soon" was correct in that it indeed was too soon, is quite moving and makes you grow as a person. But if you've read the manga first, I wonder how you'd react to the scene in the movie.
I don't think I care.
Try to care a little. Sometimes I worry you'll never grow up.
People keep telling me that you never grow up, a child. Yet Tsukihi had told me the exact opposite today, hadn't she? But yeah.
And what about you, Araragi? Why are you here? This isn't your usual territory.
Senjogahara changed the subject without batting an eye, ever free with her transitions. Can't you tell just by looking?
Unfortunately, I'm not conversant in microbe behavior.
I should have known better than to get into a snarking contest with her. But microbe?
If I were to hazard a guess, though, considering who I'm talking to, are you on your way home after committing some petty crime?
Just out for a stroll and a couple misdemeanors. A petty crime? You're too much for me. I'm actually on my way home from Kanbara's. Mentioning that I'd gone to Sengoku's house first would only drag things out to begin with. She and Senjogahara had yet to meet. Maybe neither of them even knew the other existed. Now wasn't the time to rectify that situation. Introducing such a scary sister to Princess Demure seemed like a bad idea.
I see. So, you committed a petty crime at Kanbaru's house.
I did not.
Really? I had the distinct feeling that you saw her naked.
I did not. It was a total lie. But wait, it wasn't frontal. I was merely omitting the details to keep it simple.
I see. Okay. You didn't go to Kanbaru's house to commit a petty crime.
I'm glad you understand.
Because a sex crime is more than a misdemeanor.
Can't you tell that I don't like thinking of my dear Junior that way, even if it's just talk?
Seriously, though, you should see her naked at least once. Her body is like a work of art. There's nothing lewd about it. It's beautiful. Guys might have their preferences, but from a girl's perspective, she has the perfect figure.
I wanted to nod emphatically and dish about the details, but I knew better. Senjogahara might be laying a trap, so I remained silent. But she'd seen it too. It wasn't odd since they were both girls, but I was curious as to the circumstances. Hachikuji had been joking, and it was a secret, but Kanbar had no-nonsense sapphic feelings for Senjogahara. Kinky, sapphic, masochist, exhibitionist, Suruga Kanbara. She was quality. While I'd teased her about the covers of BL novels, there was no mistaking that she was an elite-ranked pervert. She was quality. While I'd teased her about the covers of BL novels, there was no mistaking that she...
Now that her hair's grown out, she looks a lot more like a girl. All she needs to do is talk more like one, and she'll be complete.
Not to interrupt your Suruga Kanbaro makeover party, but I dig the way she speaks.
It really fills me with pride to own something so fine.
Except you don't? Oh, by the way, there was this weird guy outside her house. I was afraid I'd slip up if this went on, so I decided to deflect the talk a little.
Huh, when did they install a mirror there?
Senjogahara tilted her head as if she meant it. Man, this girl. He wasn't weird so much as ominous.
Ominous?
Senjogahara slowly turned toward me. Not realizing what that meant, I continued. He said his name was Kaiki. And then, my memories get cut off there. When I awoke, I was being held captive, in the ruins of the cram school on the 4th floor, with my hands cuffed behind my back. After checking with Senjogahara, I learned that I hadn't been unconscious for very long, maybe a few hours at most. That meant I came to late at night on July the 29th, or rather the very early hours of the 30th. My memories may have been interrupted, but I could piece together the rest. That must have been when Senjogahara clobbered me. 20 wallops. 20, for God's sake. I bet the first blow had already knocked me out. Since Senjogahara didn't possess any unarmed combat skills, it seemed likely that she'd used some sort of blunt instrument. All I could say was that she'd struck without a second thought. The word hesitation probably didn't exist in her dictionary. Well, this was a woman who'd had to go through hell in order to protect herself, and she must have had more trouble dragging me here than knocking me out. Or so I thought, as if it were someone else's business. Well, at least I remembered how I got kidnapped. That still doesn't answer the question, why a kidnapping? Senjogahara was standing in front of me like nothing was amiss, so I asked her,
Huh? What are you talking about?
"Who do you think you're fooling?" No one at all. What kind of nonsense was that? My shouts, however, fell on deaf ears. Senjogahara simply began unwrapping the package of diapers. I felt my blood curdle. Given what I did remember, though, I could fill in the blanks. That guy, Kaiki, you know him, don't you?
By the way, Araragi, would you like some tea? Didn't you like that black tea with the name that sounds like a festival in Kansai?
If you're trying to distract me, at least try harder. You don't even have a cup, or a teapot, or hot water, or any tea. And it's Darjeeling. The festival is Danjiri, damn it. And set up one punchline at a time, instead of 3.
I thought you'd fall for it, since it's you.
Just how stupid do you think I am?
Stupid enough to think amenity is some brand of tea.
You know, even ridicule has its limits.
This one, actually, isn't about stupidity, but being a chump. I'd appreciate your not asking why.
If that's what's best, then I won't. But I don't think it is. After all, you felt you had to go this far. To protect me, it was to protect me that Senjogahara had abducted me. If you did, it's gotta be a big deal.
Are you sure? Even without a reason, As long as I had an excuse. Kidnapping my boyfriend seems like the sort of thing I would do.
Right. I'd realized that even as I spoke. But if I agreed now, we'd never get anywhere.
Dishu Kaiki, that's the man's name. Dishu as in mud boat. Kaiki isn't a common name, and since you said he seemed ominous, I knew it had to be him, if any man fits that description more perfectly. I don't know him.
Yes, just like you know nothing. Hey, did she have to derail the conversation to badmouth me? She really couldn't read a room. What a scary lady.
I can't believe he's back in town. How odd and incomprehensible. I don't believe I even considered the possibility.
But who is he? It's unusual for you to be so averse to someone.
Really? Is there anyone on this planet that I'm not averse to?
If you're just going to keep on misrendering my meaning, this conversation won't get anywhere.
Misrender unto me the things that are Caesar's.
That's just theft.
Indeed. And Kaki is a swindler.
Upon reflection, Senjo Gahara's acid tongue wasn't nearly unchanged, but even more acidic than usual. What was going on? Right. She was having trouble broaching the subject head-on. She had to be trying to discuss something that she couldn't abide.
Araragi, remember how you and Mr. Oshino solved that issue I was dealing with?
Yeah. Actually, solve wasn't exactly what we did, but if she was using the word, then fine. I'd only correct her on a different point. It wasn't really Oshino or I who'd done the solving, but Senjo Gahara herself.
I told you, didn't I? Before you introduced me to Mr. Oshino, I met 5 frauds.
Dash so far, 5 people have spouted similar lines to me. Dash all of them were frauds. Dash, are you one as well, Mr. Oshino? When she'd met Oshino for the first time, she'd said that to his face. 5 frauds. Kaiki was one of them. The first one. Now I understood. No wonder Kaiki reminded me of Oshino and Guillotine Cutter. What Senjo Gahara had dealt with was a crab. Her issue had been an aberration. Meme Oshino and Guillotine Cutter held different positions and stances, and also, Oshino handled aberrations of all stripes while Guillotine Cutter was an authority on vampires only, but they were both experts in the field. Apparently, Kaki Dishu Kaiki was, too. Whether he was the real deal or a fake.
He's a fake. He's a first-class fraud, though. That man brought tragedy to my entire family. He had his way with us, swindling us out of our money, and vanishing without accomplishing a thing.
I recalled the man ominous in his suit, as if dressed for mourning. Kaiki Daishu Kaiki.
Since he was the first, I got my hopes up. Having them dashed crushed my soul. But that's trivial.
What's the non-trivial part?
I don't want you to have anything to do with him, that's all. I refuse to be robbed, to let go of something dear to me again. That's why I'm going to protect you, Araragi.
She spoke as if she were making a promise to herself. I was speechless. It wasn't that she convinced me, nor did I even understand what she was saying. I felt like her argument had skipped a few steps, or perhaps what was missing was information. Regardless, Senjo Gahara had let go of something precious long ago, and that experience weighed on her. Heavily. It weighed on her and pained her. She, who knew nothing of hesitation and thus of regret, probably saw it as the one blot on her history, and that's why she was acting, in all earnestness, for my sake. That much seemed certain. Is this guy, Kaki, such a problem? Why don't you want me near him?
He is. He's too pungent for you, Justice Man.
Justice Man? What was that supposed to mean? Like I was with the Fire Sisters.
At the very least, until I know what Keiki is up to, why he's back in town, be a good boy, and stay here. In fact, even if he's visiting for no reason, until he's gone, I want you to stay put.
What if Kaki moved to our town?
In that case, you'll just have to live here forever.
Apparently the possibility hadn't occurred to her, and she stopped to consider before stating, "Talk about going overboard. Miss Gahara."
Or, I kill him.
No. Throwing words like that around didn't do.
You're right. How about I just punch his ticket then?
His ticket? Anyway, what sort of guy is this Kaiki? A cutesy phrase didn't make it any better. It still didn't do. The talk was turning to violence, so I tried, tied up as I was, to obtain a little more information, That was when my phone's ringtone went off, inside my jeans pocket. It was the incoming text ring. Can I see who it is? Senjo Gahara paused for a moment, and then, without answering, reached toward my pants and began fumbling around in my pocket. Whoa! Whoa! That's a little too much fumbling. What do you think you're reaching for there?
It's down deep, so I'm having trouble getting it out.
My pockets aren't that deep.
Right, they're as shallow as your life.
Can't you even get my phone for me without insulting me? Having insulted me, though, she did pull it out. She held its screen up to my face. Obviously, I couldn't read the message without working the buttons, but the sender and subject line were already displayed, and that was all I needed to see. From Littler Sister/Subject. Help. That very moment, the chain on the handcuffs, just snapped loose. Then, without further ado, I stood up.
Araragi.
Even Senjogahara looked surprised. Even then, her mental composure was impeccable, and she didn't panic one bit, merely fixing a sharp gaze on me as I stood there.
Where do you think you're going?
Something's just come up. I can't play around anymore. I'm going home.
And you think I'm letting you?
I'm going. It's my home. And my family.
I'll have you know, I'm not such a coward that I'd back down just because I'm facing a vampire. And I'm not kind enough to back down just because you're my boyfriend.
I do know. That's why I love you.
Heh. If you want to pass, you'll have to defeat me first. Do you think you can?
Chuckled Senjogahara like she was actually having fun. Like she couldn't be happier that she had someone on whom to sick her emotions. I can and I will. That line only works on me if the other person is doing the upside-down crab. You said you want to protect me. I appreciate it, but I have things that I want to protect too. You aren't the only one who's lost something precious.
You think a little speech can persuade me?
Why should I have to?
Really? Don't start confusing me for a reasonable woman.
Then what about me? Did you fall for? Would you be proud about loving a guy who'd sit on his ass now?
Oops, super cool. Super cool.
Murmured Senjogahara barely audibly. Hey, don't get back to normal all of a sudden. You're gonna make me blush?
If I were a man, I'd find you irresistible.
How about as a woman?
Who says I don't?
Ah, well... We both fell into an uncomfortable silence amidst all the tension. But this time, my phone, which Senjogahara was still gripping in her hand, rang to announce not a text but a call.
Hello. We're busy.
Answered Senjogahara, annoyed by the sound perhaps, and without asking for my permission first. Her voice was impassive, and she never removed her eyes from me. I expected her to hang up immediately, but instead she froze. Well, not that her face could freeze any further, but somehow she appeared shaken. Senjogahara, who didn't panic one bit when I stood up despite my restraints, felt shaken.
Oh no.